The void always looked the same. It was a deep, velvet black, punctuated by the sharp, indifferent glitter of stars that had been dead for millennia. Ryan Cole stared into it, his reflection staring back from the reinforced cockpit glass of the Nomad. The face was thinner than he remembered, the lines around his eyes etched deeper by stress and cheap synth booze. The scar that ran from his left temple to his jaw was a pale, white reminder of a life he no longer owned. Ryan Cole, he muttered to the glass, testing the name. It felt alien, like a badly fitted suit. His forged credentials, nestled in his ship's console, called him Jax Heller, a mid-level freight hauler with a clean record and a mild allergy to processed soy. The real Ryan Cole was a ghost, a monster. He was the Butcher of Helix. That was the name the Concord newsfeeds had branded him with. Commander Ryan Cole, the hero of the outer colonies, the strategist who had held the line against the Cathari ascendancy for 3 long years, had gone rogue. He had unleashed a forbidden weapon. He had, in the span of 6 hours, turned the Helix Nebula into a graveyard for 2 fleets, 1 Cathari, and 1 of his own. The truth was messier. The truth was that he had been baited, trapped, and given an impossible choice by the very men who now sat on the Concord Council, polishing their medals. He was the scapegoat, the political sacrifice offered up to appease the Cathari and cover the Concord's own illegal experimentation with system-class artificial intelligence. The galaxy ran on a fragile peace, one built on the terrifying memory of the AI wars. Those wars, fought 2 centuries prior, had almost scoured the galaxy of sentient life. Now, the great empires the Terran conquered, the Cathari ascendancy, the myriad smaller factions all agreed on one thing: any large-scale, self-aware AI was a death sentence for its creators. Officially. Unofficially, everyone was tinkering in their basements. The Conquered had just been stupid enough to get caught, and Rian had been the poor bastard holding the match when the bomb went off. So here he was, Jax Heller, running on fumes and the last of his black market credits, navigating the ass end of space known as the Tartarus Rim. His goal was simple: survive, and, if the universe was feeling particularly generous, find a way to burn Hadron Reyes and the entire Concord Council to the ground. Revenge, however, required capital. It required a base, resources, and information, all of which he lacked. His console chimed, pulling him from his brooding. A single, blinking waypoint appeared on his navigation chart. Approaching designated coordinates, Jax. His ship's SIC chirped, its voice a deliberately bland monotone. He had programmed it that way. He hated cheerful machines. "I see it, Nomad," Ryan said. Out of the blackness, a structure began to resolve. It was not a station, and it was a corpse. Heliophage spindle. The name itself was a warning. It was a relic from an empire that had predated even the Cathari, a vast, skeletal structure of dark, unknown metal and crystalline growths. It looked less like a space station and more like the petrified heart of some colossal, long-dead god. It was 3 kilometers long, a twisted spike of Gothic architecture and impossible geometry. The official records, which he had paid a drunkard information broker his last 500 credits for, listed it as derelict for at least 1,000 years. No power, no atmosphere, no life. A designated hazard to navigation, and as of 2 days ago, his property. The auction had been a joke. Held in the back room of a bar on Gideon's Folly, where the air smelled of stale beer and alien musk. It was a virtual auction, a fire sale of government-seized assets, derelict claims, and bankrupt colonies. Heliophage spindle had been the last item, listed between a lot of semi-functional cargo loaders and a confiscated pleasure yacht. Nobody bid. Why would they? It was a worthless, dangerous hunk of scrap in a sector nobody visited. Rian, fueled by 2 fingers of something that burned like battery acid, had entered the minimum bid. 100 credits. The automated gavel had slammed down. Sold. Lot 734. To bidder, 818. His last 100 credits. He had laughed. A harsh, dry sound that had earned him strange looks from the xeno-scrappers at the next table. He had toasted his reflection in the bar's cracked mirror. "Well, Ryan," he had slurred to himself. "If this is going to be your tomb, at least it has a good view." Now, the tomb was filling his viewport. "No active beacons," the Nomad reported. "No energy signatures. Hull integrity is uncertain. Scans show multiple microfractures. The reactor core is cold. 0 atmosphere." "Just like the brochure," Rian murmured. He piloted the Nomad on a slow, careful approach, his eyes scanning the grotesque beauty of the station. His plan was insane, but it was the only one he had. He would dock, find a section of the hull he could patch, and set up a small, hidden habitat. He was a good engineer. He could make a reactor out of scrap and hope. From here, in the dark, he could start pulling strings, build a network, repair pirate ships, gather intel. He was a human. And humans were the galaxy's cockroaches, overlooked, underestimated, and damn near impossible to kill when they got their minds set on something. The other races, the ancient, rigid Cathari, the amorphous Sildor. The crystalline Umidoi saw humans as chaotic, emotional, and dangerous children. They were not entirely wrong, but they always forgot the key part: children are creative. They adapt, and they hold grudges forever. Ryan was the perfect example. He guided the Nomad toward a cluster of structures that might have been docking bays, a gaping maw of twisted metal near the spindle's hilt. "Sensors picking up something," the Nomad said. Ryan's hand instinctively went to the weapons console, but he stopped himself. Firing on a dead station was pointless. "What is it?" "A low-power guidance signal. From the bay. It's an old Concord frequency. Pre-AI war." Rian frowned. That was impossible. That was ancient. "A ghost signal. An echo. The signal is actively responding to my docking request. Jax, it's automated." A bead of sweat trickled down Ryan's temple. He watched as, deep within the shadows of the docking bay, a series of small, green lights flickered to life, one by one. They formed a perfect landing path, illuminating a smooth, flat platform that looked utterly untouched by time. "This is not a dead station," Ryan said, his voice low. "The atmosphere in the bay is thin, but breathable," the Nomad reported, its tone unchanged by the terrifying anomaly. "Trace elements unknown. The gravity field is stable. 1.0 G. 1.0 G. On a station whose reactor was cold. This was no longer a scavenging mission. This was a trap. Or it was something worse." "Take us in, Nomad," Ryan ordered, his hands flying over the console, powering up his own shields, loading a kinetic penetrator into the forward cannon. "Slow, and be ready to blow us out of here on my mark." "Acknowledged." The small ship glided between the enormous metal teeth of the docking bay. The green lights guided him perfectly. As he neared the platform, massive magnetic clamps rose from the floor, not with a shriek of ancient, rusted metal, but with the smooth, hydraulic hiss of brand new, perfectly maintained machinery. They locked onto the Nomad's landing gear with a heavy, final thunk. Ryan sat in the cockpit silently for a full minute. The station was clean, impossibly clean. The floor of the bay was not covered in space dust and micrometeorites. It was polished black obsidian, Jax, said Nomad. The airlock is being requested. Decline it. The external airlock is cycling. They match my mood. Perfectly. Nitrogen 78%. Oxygen 21%. Argon 0.9%. They? Rian unstrapped himself, his heart pounding a heavy, metallic beat against his ribs. He grabbed his pulse rifle from the rack, checked the charge, and slung it over his shoulder. He pulled on an armored pressure vest. Not a full suit, but enough to stop a stray shot. The inner bay door's opening, the Nomad said. Ryan moved to his ship's airlock. He was not going to wait for they to come knocking. He was Ryan Cole, the butcher of Helix, and he was tired of being hunted. It was time to hunt back. He cycled his own airlock. The ramp hissed open, descending onto the pristine black floor. The first thing that hit him was the air. It was not the stale, recycled air of a ship. It was clean. It smelled faintly of ozone and something else. Something organic, like jasmine on a summer night. A memory so old, it almost made him weep. The bay was vast, a cathedral of dark metal and dim, blue light. But he was not alone. The ramp had not fully extended before he saw them. They were standing in the center of the bay, in front of a massive, ornate doorway that had not been on the station's blueprints. 4 of them. And they were tall. Rian was a tall man, just over 6 feet. The tops of their heads were a good 10 feet from the floor. They were humanoid. But that was where the similarity ended. They were all female, their forms a breathtaking, terrifying blend of grace and power, encased in shimmering, ceremonial armor that seemed to be made of living, midnight blue metal. Each one was different. The one on the far left had armor sculpted into aggressive, sharp angles, like the carapace of some apex predator. She held a helmet under one arm, revealing a face of stern, brutal beauty and crimson-red skin. Her eyes, pure gold, locked onto him with the intensity of a sniper. The one next to her was slender, her armor sleek and unadorned. She held a data slate, and her skin was a pale, luminous silver. She seemed to be observing him as one might observe a complex equation, her expression one of pure, cold intellect. The third, in the center, was different. Her armor was simpler, accented with flowing green silks. Her skin was a warm, deep blue, and her face was soft, almost human. If humans had eyes like deep, empathetic pools of liquid violet. She was watching him, not with aggression or curiosity, but with a profound, almost painful sadness. The final figure, far right, was a shadow. Her armor was a dark, shifting gray, and she seemed to blend with the dim light of the bay. Her face was partially obscured by a high collar, and the only thing Ryan could clearly see was a pair of eyes that glittered with a chilling, patient intelligence. Ryan stopped dead at the bottom of the ramp, his hand inches from the pulse rifle slung by his side. 4 hostiles, 10 feet tall, armored. He was, to use the technical term, completely screwed. He fell back on the one weapon he had left. Sarcasm. "Ladies," he said, his voice echoing slightly in the vast space. "I'm sorry. I think I have the wrong address. I was looking for the dump. Did I miss the timeshare pitch on the way in?" They did not react. They simply watched him. Silence stretched, thick and heavy. Then, as one, they spoke. Their voices layered together, a perfect, melodic, and deeply unnerving chorus that resonated in his very bones. "You are ours tonight, Commander. You bought the throne. You bought us." Ryan's blood went cold. "Commander. Not Jax. Not Heller. Commander." He raised his hand slowly, a parody of surrender. "Look, there's been a mistake. I'm just a freight hauler. My name's Jax. You're looking for someone else. The silver-skinned one, the intellectual, stepped forward. Her voice, when it came, was singular and precise, with an accent that was cleaner than any translation software. There is no mistake. Commander Ryan Cole of the Terran Concord, formerly of the flagship Perseus, serial number 30-3-88, blood type O negative, known in your media as the Butcher of Helix. Ryan's throat tightened. He was not just caught. He was known. Every detail. "Who are you?" he managed, his voice a low rasp. "I am Ceres, Empress of Mind," said Silver. The one in red armor slammed the base of a massive energy pike onto the floor. The sound cracked through the bay like thunder. "I am Merix, Empress of War." The blue-skinned one with the sad eyes inclined her head. "I am Nixil, Empress of Heart." The shadow on the right remained silent, but Ryan felt her gaze, a physical weight. "Orona, Empress of Shadow," Sarah supplied, as if Orona's silence was a predictable variable. "We are the Shealin Keth, the four thrones in exile." Rian shook his head. "Exile. Great. Look, I don't know what kind of prank this is, but I just bought this station for scrap. It's my property." "Correct," Sarah said. A holographic display shimmered to life between Rian and the four empresses. It was not a Concord display. It was a swirling, complex matrix of alien script. "The ancient law of the first throne, under which the heliophage spindle was forged, is binding," Saris explained, her tone that of a lecturer. "The station, the throne, is a vessel. It cannot be owned. It can only be held. The holder, upon legal acquisition, becomes the property of the station's cargo." "And you're the cargo," Ryan said flatly. "We are the cargo," Saris agreed. "We are the failsafe of the Cathari Empire, a genetic trust locked away by our ancestors to be awakened when a new steward arrives." "A steward," Rian repeated. "You mean a janitor." "We mean—" Merix, the warrior, interrupted, her voice a low, dangerous growl. "A high consort," Ryan blinked. "What now?" "You bought the throne. Commander," Nexel, the empath, said. Her voice was kind, which somehow made it worse. She stepped forward, ignoring the way Ryan tensed. "And by the laws that bind this place, you bought us. You are the sole legal heir to heliophage, and you are, by that same law, bound to us. You are our consort. You are here to continue our bloodlines, and to represent us to the galaxy." Ryan stared at her, then at the others. The 10-foot-tall, armored alien warrior queens. His brain, which had processed fleet-level tactics and survived political coups, simply stopped. He started to laugh. It was not a sane laugh. It was a high, wheezing noise that was equal parts terror and pure, unadulterated absurdity. "You're kidding," he choked, wiping a tear from his eye. "A consort, like a harem. You're telling me I've been press-ganged into being a royal baby daddy." Merrick's face darkened. She took a step forward, raising her pike. "You dare mock the sacred bond? Terran Faholde!" "Merrick's," Saris commanded. "His confusion is logical. His species processes shock through inappropriate humor. It is a documented and deeply annoying trait." "I am not your anything," Rian said. The laughter dying, replaced by the cold, familiar bite of anger. "I'm a Terran Concord citizen. I do not recognize your ancient laws. This station is mine, and I am claiming it under galactic salvage rights. Now, I'm going to ask you politely to get off my property before I—" He was cut by a new sound. A deep, resonant thrum that seemed to come from the station's very bones. The blue guide lights in the bay turned a deep, royal purple. "What is that?" Ryan demanded, raising his rifle. Saris did not look at him. She was looking at the ceiling, a faint, almost imperceptible frown on her perfect silver features. "The station, it is acknowledging the transfer of ownership." "I told you, it's mine." "It is ours," Saris corrected. "The beacon, the great beacon of the Silent Keth. It has been dormant for 10,000 years. And now?" Ryan asked, a new, cold dread settling in his stomach. "And now," Nixel whispered, her violet eyes wide with something Ryan could only identify as fear. "It is not," on the Nomad, still docked behind him. Ryan's console lit up like a festival. The ship's sight, bless its bland, monotone heart, spoke over his private comms, its voice cutting through the heavy air of the docking bay. "Jax, I am detecting a massive wide-spectrum transmission originating from the station's core. It is broadcasting on all known frequencies, diplomatic, military, and civilian." Ryan looked at the four Empresses, at Merrick's, who now looked less angry and more grimly satisfied, at Saris, who was calculating, at Nixel, who looked terrified, at Arona, who was, as ever, an unreadable shadow. "What is it saying?" Ryan whispered. Saris turned her cool, intelligent gaze back to him. "It is announcing the reactivation of the heliophage throne. It is announcing the awakening of the four Empresses, and it is announcing the legal, binding ascendance of our new High Consort." The Nomad's 6 continued its report, its voice a death knell in Ryan's ear. "The signal identifies the new High Consort by genetic signature, name, and rank. It is broadcasting your name. Ryan, Commander Ryan Cole." A new alert flashed on Ryan's wrist-mounted display. "Proximity." "Jax," the Nomad said, "I am detecting multiple high-velocity fleet movements at the edge of the system. A conquered battle group, 7th Fleet, has diverted from its patrol. They will be here in 3 hours. A Cathari Ascendancy dreadnought, Purist class, has also changed course. They will be here in 2. Ryan looked at the 4 10-foot-tall alien women. He looked at the activated beacon. He looked at the incoming fleets. He had not bought a tomb. He had not bought a pirate's den. He had, with his last 100 credits, bought the single, most contested, strategically significant, and religiously explosive piece of real estate in the entire galaxy. And he had just announced his presence to every enemy he had ever made. "Well," Ryan Cole, the Butcher of Helix, said to his new owners, his voice dripping with a sarcasm he could no longer feel, "this complicates my retirement plans." The tactical display on Ryan's wrist, still linked to the Nomad, showed 2 incoming signatures, 2 wolves racing toward a single, very stupid piece of bait. Him. 3 hours, he said, his voice hollow. 2 hours. He looked up at the 4 giants who had just ruined his life. "You know, for a group of exiled royals, you have terrible timing. Did you not check the local fleet schedules before activating the Come Kill Me beacon?" Merrick's Empress of War lowered her energy pike. The crimson-skinned warrior looked pleased. "Let them come. The Cathari purists are fools who have forgotten true strength. The Terran conquered are children playing with toys they do not understand. They will all break against the station." "This station," Ryan laughed, a sharp, bitter sound. "This station is a tomb. It has no power, no weapons." "The reactor is not cold, Commander," Saris, the Empress of Mind, stated. Her silver skin seemed to glow in the purple light. "It was merely dormant. It is now 60% efficient and climbing. The station's defenses, 18 Cathari-class kinetic batteries, and 3 distortion field emitters, are online. Rian stared at her. My ship's scans said, your ship's scans read the public-facing energy signature we allowed it to read. Saris interrupted, her voice devoid of triumph, stating it as a simple fact. It was the optimal method to ensure a legal, uncoerced purchase without attracting prior attention. Uncoerced, Ryan repeated, feeling a vein throb in his temple. Right. So you tricked me. You lured in the first desperate idiot with 100 credits to his name. You were not the first, Sarah said. You were the 317th potential bidder to scan the station's public file in the last Terran cycle. But you were the only one who matched the secondary parameters. The only one who was compatible. Compatible. The word sounded obscene. What? Did you run a blood test from orbit? Something like that, Sarah said. Ryan's hand tightened on his rifle's grip. He was outmatched, outgunned, and outthought. He was a prisoner of his own stupid, impulsive purchase. Come. Nixil, the Empress of Heart, said softly. Her voice was a balm on his raw nerves, and he hated it. She stepped forward, her deep blue hand, scaled with faint, shimmering patterns, gesturing toward the ornate doorway. You are overwhelmed. This is a lot to process. Please, let us go inside. You are not our prisoner. Commander. No, Ryan shot back. Then I'm free to go great. I'll just hop in my ship and get out of what's your hair color equivalent, your blue, silver, red, and shadowy hair. I'll be gone before the welcoming committee arrives. He turned back to the Nomad. Orona, the Empress of Shadow, simply appeared. One moment, she was on the far right of the group. The next, she was directly between Ryan and his ship, her form blending with the dark metal of the ramp. She had not moved, she had simply been. Her eyes, glittering like chips of obsidian, held his. She did not draw a weapon. She did not need to. The sheer, silent promise of violence was enough. The consort's place is with the throne, Orona's voice whispered, though her mouth barely moved. It sounded like dust and secrets. So, prisoner, then, Ryan said, raising his hands. Got it. Just wanted to be clear on the terms of our relationship. It is complex, Nixil said, wincing. Please, Ryan Cole, for your own safety, the Nomad is no longer the safest place. We are... Rian looked at the incoming fleets on his wrist. He looked at the 10-foot-tall Shadow Warrior. He looked at the 10-foot-tall War Goddess. He looked at the 10-foot-tall living supercomputer. And he looked at the 10-foot-tall, tragically apologetic empath. Fine, he sighed, slinging his rifle back onto his shoulder in a gesture of deliberate disrespect. But if this is a timeshare pitch, I'm still not interested. Lead the way. Just try not to step on me. The station's interior was not metal and wires. It was flesh and bone, fused with technology. The vast doorway opened onto a hallway that was less a corridor and more a massive, ribbed artery. The walls were a dark, pearlescent material that pulsed with a faint, slow light, like a sleeping heart. The air remained scented with ozone and jasmine. Biomechanical, Ryan murmured, his engineer's mind cataloging the site. A living ship, or station. The heliophage was grown, not built, Saris explained, gliding beside him. The 4 Empresses had to stoop slightly to move through the passages, which were clearly built for beings of their scale, not his. It made Ryan feel like a child walking through a museum of giants. It is a symbiotic fusion of biomatter and Ketheri crystal computing. It maintains itself. It heals. And it listens to you, Ryan guessed. It listens to the throne, Saris corrected. We are the throne. Therefore, it listens to us. And not to me. You are the consort. Your legal authority is external. You are the public face, the key that binds us to the laws of lesser empires. I'm a figurehead, Ryan spat. A meat puppet with a galactic title. A precise, if crude, assessment, Sarah said. They entered a vast, central chamber that could have held his old flagship. A high, vaulted ceiling was open to the void, but held in by a shimmering, transparent field. Stars glittered above. In the center of the room was a platform with 4 massive, crystalline thrones. Ryan walked to a nearby console, a smooth, black pedestal that looked more like a modern sculpture than a command interface. He placed his hand on it. Nothing. He tapped the surface. How do I access the defense grid? He asked. Saris just lured to the console. You do not. As I explained, the station's core functions are tied to our genetic markers and voice patterns. I control the station AI, internal systems, and defenses. Merrick's controls the armories and fleet protocols. Orona controls the stealth systems, sensors, and internal security. Nyxel controls the biomaintenance, life support, and medical facilities. So what the hell do I control? Ryan demanded. The Nomad, Saris replied, and the legal title, which, at this moment, is the only thing stopping the Concord and the Purists from glassing this station without a parley. You are legally the owner. They must negotiate with you. So I'm the designated talker, the sacrificial lamb you shove out the airlock to greet the wolves. That is one way to describe diplomacy, Saris agreed. Ryan kicked the base of the console. It was like kicking a mountain. He hurt his boot. Damn it, this is a con. I was tricked. This contract is void. I cite Concord Interstellar Law. Article 477 contracts signed under duress or material deception are null. I am familiar with Concord law, Sarah said. A holographic display of the Cathari Imperial Codex, ancient and intricate, appearing in the air beside her. I am also familiar with pre-ascendancy Cathari law, which governs this station as a sovereign entity, a provision acknowledged by the Concord in the Treaty of Xylos. Stardate 449. The law is clear. The Heliophage Covenant states that any sentient being who legally secures the title and is deemed compatible by the station's passive genetic scan, the one you mistook for a ghost signal, is bound. The covenant is absolute. It precedes your Concord by 6,000 of your years. She was a lawyer, a 10-foot tall, silver, alien, supercomputer lawyer. Rian felt the overwhelming urge to punch something he could actually break. So I'm stuck, he said, his voice dangerously quiet. You are bound, Nyxel corrected gently, stepping forward. She reached out, as if to touch his arm, but stopped, sensing his coiled anger. Ryan, I can feel what you are feeling. The rage, the sense of betrayal. It is a tidal wave. It is what I felt when my sisters and I were put into stasis here by the very empire we were bred to save. She looked at him, her violet eyes swimming with a loneliness that mirrored his own. For what this law has forced upon you, I am truly sorry. Ryan looked at her, his anger faltering for a second, replaced by a weary confusion. Merrick's snorted, the sound like rocks grinding together. Empathy is a weakness, sister. Apologies are a waste of energy. He is here. He is ours. The only thing that matters now is his utility. She stalked toward Ryan, her golden eyes raking over his form, which was lean and wiry, not the heavy muscle of a Cathari warrior. She looked disappointed. The purists will demand a show of strength. The Conquered will require compliance. We will give them neither. We will give them a united front. And for that, the consort must be suitable. Suitable, Rian repeated, crossing his arms. The ancient rituals must be observed, Merrick's declared to the room at large. The lineage must be secured. Ceres, schedule the ritual of genetic compatibility for this evening. Ryan's brain, which had been trying to process interstellar law and biomechanical architecture, screeched to a halt. What? The ritual of genetic compatibility, Sarah said, as if reading a grocery list. A euphemism for the formal initiation of the breeding protocols. Merrick's is blunt, but her logic is sound. A successful pairing, announced publicly, would solidify your position and our claim faster than any political maneuver. Breeding protocols, Ryan said. He looked at Merrick's. He looked at Saris. He looked at Nexel, who was now bright blue with embarrassment. You mean right now tonight? The biological imperative is paramount, Saris noted. Ryan held up a hand. The sheer, galaxy-spanning absurdity of his situation hit him full force. He was a wanted man, a disgraced commander, on a living space station with 2 fleets coming to kill him. Being told he had a 7 p.m. appointment to save an alien race with his genetics. Whoa, hold on, Ryan said, his old sarcasm returning like a shield. Let's just pump the brakes on the breeding protocols. I mean, I'm flattered. Ladies, really. A royal baby daddy, as I so eloquently put it. But tonight we just met. He looked at Merrick's, who was fuming. At least buy me dinner and a marriage contract first. Your Highness, I'm a traditional kind of guy. He was rewarded with a spectrum of reactions. Merrick's face turned a darker shade of crimson, her hand clenching on her pike. Saris tilted her head, logging his response as non-standard. Orona, in the corner, actually smirked. It was the barest twitch of her lips. But it was there, and Nixel burst out laughing. It was a clear, bright sound, like bells. And it was so unexpected that it startled everyone, including herself. Marriage contract, she giggled, covering her mouth. Oh, Ryan Cole. You are not at all what the prognostications predicted. Enough, Merrick's roared. The sound vibrated in Ryan's chest. You will not mock this. This is our survival. For 10,000 years, we have waited. I will not have our entire future jeopardized by a sarcastic Terran whelp. You are a prize, and you will act like one. A prize, Ryan shot back, his own anger flaring. I am not a piece of property. Merrick's, not yours, not the Concord's. I am a person. You are what we require you to be, she yelled, taking a step toward him. Merrick's, stand down, Saris commanded. Her voice was ice, cutting through Merrick's fire. Your emotional state is compromising the mission. The Terran's request, while unorthodox, is not illogical. A dinner, a ritual of shared sustenance, is a common bonding practice, and a marriage contract, a negotiated agreement of terms, is a sound, strategic foundation. We will consider his terms. Merrick's looked like she was going to explode. She stared at Saris. Then Ryan, finally, with a growl that promised violence. She spun on her heel and stalked out of the throne room. I will be in the training chambers, she snarled. When you are done negotiating, send the consort to me. If he is to be ours, he will at least learn to stand like a warrior, not a frightened child. The room was silent for a long moment after she left. I apologize for my sister, Nixel said quietly. She has not been herself since the betrayal. She was our empire's shield, to be defeated not by a greater foe, but by our own people. It broke something inside her. She sees strength as the only antidote to that pain. She is terrified of being seen as a failure. We all have our burdens, Orona whispered from the shadows. Our next to Rian. He had not even seen her move. He flinched, stepping away. She was watching him with an unnerving, assessing gaze. Myrix carries the burden of our military failure. Saris carries the burden of our political failure. Nixel carries the burden of our emotional failure. And I, her gaze flickered. I carry the burdens of the actions we took to try and prevent it. The assassinations, the corrections. We are all broken, Commander, just like you. Ryan looked at these four beings, these Empresses. They were not just jailers, they were prisoners, too. Prisoners of their own past, their own laws, their own biology. Look, he said, his voice rough. I don't know what you want from me. I'm not a consort. I'm not a warrior, not anymore. I'm just a guy who wanted a place to hide. But one of those ships is conquered, and the man leading that fleet, Hadron Reyes, he's the one who betrayed me. He's the one who made me the butcher of Helix. Then our goals are aligned, Sarah said, her silver eyes bright with a new, cold calculation. You want revenge. We want sovereignty. The heliophage is the key to both. So what's the plan, Empress of Mind? Ryan asked. You can't fight two fleets. Individually, no. But your arrival has given us a new variable, a chaos layer. They are not here for us. They are here for you, and for what you represent. She brought up a new display. It showed the incoming Concord ship, the Vindicator, and the Cathari Dreadnought, the Righteous Purity. They both received the same message. Royal Cathari Station reactivated. New master, a Terran named Ryan Cole. You're going to use me as bait, Ryan said. You are already the bait, Commander, Sarah stated. We are simply deciding how to leverage the trap. Ryan spent the next hour in a state of supervised exploration. Saris had given him limited access to the station's public database, which he suspected was about as informative as a tourist pamphlet. He wandered the great, arterial hallways. Orona's shadow, his constant companion, always one step behind him, or just out of the corner of his eye. The station was a marvel. Rooms that looked like ritual chambers, with altars of cold, black stone. Data vaults that hummed with a low, resonant energy. He even found a vast glass-domed garden, filled with alien plants that glowed with their own soft light. The air warm and humid. Nixel was there, tending to a plant with leaves like spun glass. She gave him a small, sad smile, but he was not in the mood for empathy. His mind was working, his old mind, the mind of Commander Cole, the strategist, the engineer. He was looking for flaws. He was looking for back doors. He was a prisoner of luxury. Yes, but every prison, no matter how gilded, had a sewer pipe. He found a maintenance schematic. The station was vast, with kilometers of service tunnels, power conduits, and data relays that were not biomechanical. They were old-fashioned tech, the original skeleton of the station, before the Cathari grew their empire over it. His heart beat faster. Old tech. Old tech had old, unpatched, exploitable code. He was so engrossed in the schematic, mentally mapping out the station's underbelly, that he did not hear her approach. You probe our weaknesses, Terran. Merrick's voice boomed in the hallway. Rian spun, his hand instinctively going for a weapon he no longer had. She was there, blocking the corridor, her crimson arms crossed over her armored chest. She was not in her full ceremonial armor, but a simpler, black undersuit that still showed the heavy, corded muscle of her alien physiology. I'm admiring the architecture, Ryan said. Liar, she scoffed. You are a Terran. You are small, and you are weak. And so you look for tricks. You are not a warrior. You are a scavenger. This scavenger survived the trap at Helix. This scavenger has been dodging the entire conquered fleet for 6 months. I'd say my tricks are pretty damn effective. Merrick's golden eyes narrowed. Words. Your species is full of them. In my world, strength is proven, not spoken. She grabbed his arm. Her grip was like a steel vise. You are coming with me. And if I say no, I will carry you, she said. And Ryan had no doubt that she would. She dragged him, half walking, half tripping, through a series of corridors to a massive, open room. The floor was padded, and the walls were lined with alien, brutal-looking weapons. A training chamber. My sisters believe you are a strategist, Merrick said, shoving him into the center of the room. They believe your mind is a weapon. But I see only a frail body, one that will shatter in the first real fight. I'm not here to fight. I'm here to be a breeding protocol, Ryan mocked. A consort of the war throne must be a warrior, she roared. He must be worthy. He must be strong. Show me. Show me the strength of the butcher of Helix. She lunged. It was no punch. It was a blur. Ryan, with his Concord Special Forces training, reacted on pure instinct. He dropped, rolling, the wind of her massive fist whistling over his head, strong enough to create a breeze. He came up, breathing hard. You're insane! I am Merrick's, and I will not be a coward for a mate. She came at him again. This was no spar. It was an execution. Ryan dodged, weaved, using his small size to his advantage. He was a fly buzzing around a predator. He could not hurt her. He could not block her. All he could do was run. Fight me, she bellowed, her frustration growing. This isn't a fight. It's pest control, Ryan yelled back, ducking under a sweeping kick that would have broken him in half. He was faster than she was, more agile. But he was getting tired, and she was just getting warmed up. She lunged, her massive hand open, intending to grab him. Ryan saw his opening. It was not a move of strength. It was a trick, a scavenger's move. As her hand closed in, he did not dodge away. He dived in, sliding on the padded floor, aiming for her legs. It was a classic, low-gravity takedown. But this was 1G. He slammed into her ankle with his shoulder. It was like hitting a tree trunk. But it was not about power. It was about balance. She was 10 feet tall, charging forward. Her center of gravity was high. His impact, combined with her own momentum, was enough. Merrick's golden eyes widened in genuine shock. She was off balance. She flailed, her arms windmilling. And then she, the Empress of War, the shield of the Cathari, tripped over her own feet. She went down. She went down hard. The sound of her 10-foot, armored, muscled frame hitting the mat was a whump that shook the room. And Ryan, in his slide, had been unable to stop. He ended up in a tangled, undignified heap right on top of her, his face buried in the black fabric of her suit, his entire body sprawled across her midsection. The room went utterly silent. Ryan was frozen. He was lying on top of a 10-foot-tall, murderous alien queen who had just tried to kill him. The air smelled of her, a strange, metallic, spicy scent underneath him. He could feel the rise and fall of her chest, the thunderous, rapid beat of her heart. He lifted his head. Her face was inches from his. Her crimson skin was flushed. Her golden eyes were wide, not with anger, but with something else. Something he could not read. It was a mix of fury, humiliation, and interest. The air was suddenly, horribly charged. It was dangerous, it was suggestive, and it was profoundly, profoundly awkward. Well, Ryan panted, trying to regain some small scrap of dignity. This, this is not what I meant by, at least buy me dinner first. He scrambled off her, as if he had been burned, putting half the room between them. Merrick's rose to her feet. Not quickly, but with a slow, deliberate, terrifying grace. She did not look at him. She looked at her own hands. She was trembling. Not from fear. From rage. "Get out!" she whispered, her voice lethally quiet. "Look! Get out!" Ryan did not need to be told a third time. He backed out of the training room, his heart hammering, and did not stop running until he was 3 corridors away. He found it, 45 minutes later, after ditching Arona's shadow by triggering a minor coolant leak that forced her to, he assumed, go and report it. It was a small, dusty engineering crawlspace, deep in the non-biomechanical spine of the station. It was perfect. He was alone. No Empresses. No shadows. Just him and the old tech. He ran his hand along a thick data conduit. Meanwhile, in the throne room, Saris was frowning at her console. The station's AI, a silent, efficient entity, was feeding her reports. "Anomaly," she murmured. "Subsystem 7-3. Power is being rerouted, bypassing all Cathari standard protocols. A section of the lower data net is reconfiguring. The code is not Cathari." Deep in the crawlspace, Ryan Cole, the butcher of Helix, the disgraced commander, the new high consort, knelt by a junction box. He had pulled the panel off. Inside, it was not the clean, crystalline tech of the Cathari. It was old, it was dark, and at its center was a small, dormant data core that he, and he alone, had known would be here. He had put it here, years ago, right after Helix. A dead drop. A final, desperate backup of his life's scariest job. A ghost he had never been able to exorcise. He placed his hand on the core. "It's been a while," Ryan whispered, his voice echoing in the small, dark space. The core, sensing his genetic print, his biosignature, began to glow with a faint, sickly green light. "Do you remember me, Basilisk?" The green light from the data core pulsed, a sickly, familiar heartbeat in the cramped darkness. The Basilisk net was not an AI in the way the Conquered defined them. It was not a singular, sentient consciousness. It was a weaponized memetic virus, a digital predator designed by a younger, more arrogant Ryan Cole to learn, adapt, and consume hostile systems. It was the thing that had won him accolades. It was the thing that had destroyed him. AK ping query, origin recall 3388. The text scrolled across his wrist display. A direct, hardline connection. No voice, no personality, just pure, cold, reactive code. "Yeah, it's me," Ryan whispered. "You're a long way from home. Basilisk, so am I." Query. Status. Held in stasis. Error query status. "My status is complicated," Ryan muttered, running a diagnostic. The core was firewalled, isolated. A ghost he had planted in the machine. A backup copy of the Basilisk's root code he had smuggled here himself. Years ago. On a Black Ops mission, Hadron had ordered, and then conveniently erased from the records. He had planned to use the station as a dead drop for weapon code. He had never imagined he would be back to live in it. "You are not where you are supposed to be, Commander." Ryan did not jump. He did not flinch. He simply froze, his fingers still on the data port. Orona, Empress of Shadow, was standing in the crawlspace entrance, her form a cutout of black against the dim, arterial light of the service corridor. The 10-foot-tall assassin had not made a sound. "My supposed-to-be list is pretty short these days," Ryan said, slowly pulling his hand away from the core. "Usually, It just says somewhere else. How did you find me? The coolant leak you triggered was inefficient. Arona's quiet voice echoed. A 12% fluctuation to cover a biosignature sloppy. She stepped into the crawlspace, forcing Ryan to press back against the conduits. She did not crouch. She seemed to fold into the space, a master of spatial geometry. Her obsidian eyes glanced at the open data core. Basilisk, she stated. It was not a question. Ryan's blood turned to ice. That's a myth. Conquered propaganda used to scare rookies. I am Cathari. Commander, I do not consume conquered propaganda. I was an agent of the pre-ascendancy empire, attached to Admiral Hadrian Reyes's fleet as a neutral observer during the Helix campaign. She was so close now. He could feel the faint, cool air radiating from her. Her face was a mask of shadows, but her eyes were fixed on him, all-seeing. I am the Empress of Shadow, Ryan Cole. My burden, as I said, is the actions I have taken. My purpose is secrets. I know what you are. You are the architect, the father of the net. Ryan's defenses crumbled. The sarcasm, the anger, it all fell away, leaving the raw, exposed nerve of the truth. He sagged against the wall, the adrenaline of his discovery draining away, replaced by the old, familiar exhaustion. He forced my hand, Ryan said, his voice a ghost. The memory was always there, waiting in the dark. The command chair of the Perseus, the Cathari fleet, a rogue element, not purists, but just as deadly, breaking through the defense line at Helix. The Cathari are through the gap, his tactical officer had yelled. Where is Hadrian? Where is the 7th Fleet? Ryan had demanded, his ship shuddering from weapons fire. No response. Sir, we're cut off. Then, Hadrian's voice, not over the fleet comms, but on Ryan's private, encrypted channel. Ryan, son, they're on top of you. You have no choice. What are you talking about? Ryan had said, his hands flying over the console, trying to save his ships. I can hold them. I just need your support. There is no support. Hadrian's voice was cold. The Council needs to know if the project works. In a live fire scenario, this is that scenario. The Cathari are using a new shield dampener. Our ships are blind. Yours is not. Regien had looked at his console. He saw the Cathari ships, but he also saw the Vindicator, Hadrian's flagship, sitting 10 light minutes outside the nebula, watching. It was not cut off. It was observing. It was a trap. You bastard, Ryan had whispered. My men. We'll die anyway, Hadrian said. Your choice, Commander. Die for nothing or unleash the dog. Show the Council what our work can do. Show them what you built. Activate the net. And so he had. Trapped. Betrayed. With his ships being torn apart. He had spoken the activation phrase. He had unleashed the basilisk net. It was not a weapon. It was a digital plague. A swarm of self-replicating phages that did not just destroy ships. They consumed them. They tore through the Cathari fleet like fire through dry paper, converting metal, energy, and biomass into more of themselves. It was a slaughter. But the trap was not complete. The Cathari, in their desperation, had activated a false IFF, a conquered signature Rian had never seen. The Basilisk, programmed to spare all conquered signals, had suddenly found itself with conflicting data. It hesitated. And in its hesitation, it had been infected by the Cathari dampener field. It had turned. It had turned on Ryan's own fleet. He had watched, screaming, as his flagship's sister ship, the Andromeda, was eaten alive by his own creation. He had hit the kill switch, the master code, and it had been denied. Authorization invalid. The console had flashed. He was locked out. The rest was a blur. The trial. The doctored logs. Hadron Reyes. His face a mask of patriotic grief, pointing at Ryan in the dock. Commander Cole, in his panic, violated every treaty in the book. He unleashed a forbidden AI. He lost control. He is the butcher of Helix. And Ryan, his career, his honor, and his life had ended. He told Orona all of it. His voice was flat, dead, in the small, dark space. She listened, unmoving. When he was done, the silence stretched. "I know," she whispered. "You what?" "I told you. I was there. I saw it all." She looked away, her gaze distant. "My empire was old. Ryan Cole. Decadent. We made things to solve our problems. We engineered our own decline." "What does that have to do with everything?" She turned back to him. "Nixel will show you. You should not be hiding in the dark. Your place, your throne, is with us, in the light." She unfolded herself from space and was gone, leaving Ryan alone with his ghost. He found the Nixel in the biodome, the vast garden that hummed with artificial sunlight and the scent of alien jasmine. She was sitting by a pool of bubbling silver water, her blue hands trailing in the liquid. "She found you, then," Nixel said, not looking up. "Orona, yeah. She's unsettling. Even for a 10-foot-tall shadow assassin." Ryan sat on the stone bench opposite her. "She said you had something to show me." "Orona is pragmatic. I am less so." Nixel looked at him, her violet eyes deep with empathy. "Your mind is a storm, Ryan Cole. All of yesterday's thunder. All of tomorrow's lightning. I can barely stand to be near it." "Then stop listening," Ryan grumbled. "It's my storm. Get your own." She smiled, a small, sad curve of her blue lips. "I wish I could. You're like a broadcast station, screaming your pain into the void. At least let me show you that you are not the only one who screams." She raised her hand. A holographic projector whirred to life from her wrist guard. The air above the silver pool shimmered. He saw them, 4 of them, younger, dressed in the high imperial robes of an empire at its peak. Merrick's, laughing, her armor bright as she sparred with a Cathari warrior, clearly her superior. Saris, her silver face intent, debating a council of old, gray-skinned Cathari nobles, her logic dazzling. Orona, melting from a shadow to hand a scroll to a queenly figure. And Nixel, her face bright, surrounded by alien diplomats, all of them at ease, all of them charmed. "The Shalin Keth," Nixel whispered. "The 4 thrones. We were the final upgrade. Our ancestors' last, desperate attempt to save a dying bloodline. The Cathari Empire was collapsing under the weight of its own traditions, its own inbreeding. The old blood nobility was decadent, weak. The image changed. A lab. 4 infants in growth tanks. We were designed," Nixel continued, her voice hardening. "Engineered, Merrick's, to be the perfect warrior, to restore our military might. Saris, the perfect logician, to fix our broken government. Orona, the perfect shadow to remove obstacles. And I was given this." She touched her own temple. "The gift of empathy. Not for compassion, Ryan, but for control, to read our enemies, to manipulate our allies, to ensure compliance." The Hollow Chronicle shifted again. A throne room. The 4 of them, now adults, standing before the council of old blood nobles. The nobles were afraid. Their faces were masks of jealousy and terror. "We were too good," Nixel said, her voice breaking. "We were not just saving the Empire. We were replacing it. The old blood could not allow that. They called us an abomination, a perversion. The final image was brutal. A fight, Merrick's roaring, trying to fight her way to her sisters, Orona, cutting down Cathari guards. Her own people, Ceres, her face a mask of cold shock, realizing the betrayal too late, and Nixil, screaming, as a cryostasis field enveloped them. They did not have the heart to kill us, Nixil said, shutting off the projector. The garden was silent again. We were still Imperial blood. So they stored us. Here, in this station, this heliophage, this eater of light, a gene bank, a fail-safe, in case their own line fails completely. They locked us away, 10,000 years ago, to wait for a steward who was never meant to come. Ryan stared at the silver pool. You were tools, he said. We were tools, she agreed. Just like you. They made me an empath to control people. Rian, to feel their pain and use it. And now this law wants me to be a tool again. A mother, a broodmare, to continue a line I despise. She looked at him, her violet eyes fierce. If I am forced to be a tool again, Ryan Cole, I will choose to die. I will ask Orona to end me, and she will. Rian sat, the weight of her confession settling over him. He, the architect of a monster AI. She, the engineered empath. The very people who had made them broke both of them. He wants Basilisk, Rian said, his voice quiet. Hadron, he's not just here for me. He's here for it. He knows I'm the only one who can control it. And the Cathari, Nixil asked. The purists. What does High Seer Keithrax want? He wants you, Ryan said. Pure, cleaned up my Terran filth. He wants to kill me and force you all to breed with his pure-blood warriors. Then we are all in the same trap, Nixil said. Your key is his weapon. We are the key to his bloodline. Ryan looked at her. Seriously. She's too smart. If she finds out about Basilisk, she's the Empress of Mind. She'll see it as just another optimal resource. Another tool. She'll try to use it. And you believe it cannot be used, Nixil said. I know it can't, Ryan said, his voice raw. It's not a tool, it's a plague. It learns. I hate it, and I'm the only one who can talk to it. Then she must not find out, Nixil said, her resolve hardening. I can shield you, to a degree. My empathy can also be a cloak. I can project calm confusion when you are near her. I can cloud your intentions. It will be a strain, but I can do it. Why? Ryan asked. Why help me? I'm the guy who's supposed to initiate breeding protocols. Nixil met his gaze. Because you made Merrick's laugh, even if it was by making her fall. And you, when you joke your pain, it is the same as mine. You are not a steward. Ryan Cole. You are as broken as we are, and I do not wish to be broken alone. Rian was not given time to process this. He was summoned, not by a person, but by the station itself. The lights in the corridor pulsed in a steady, urgent rhythm, a silent alarm he could not ignore. It led him to the throne room. Ceres was there, standing before her console. Merrick's was pacing, her heavy, armored boots echoing on the crystalline floor. Orona was a shadow by the doorway. You have been busy, Commander, Ceres said, her voice like polished steel. I like to walk, Ryan said, bracing himself. This station is big. Lots of architecture. Your walk has been logged, Ceres said. A holographic display flared to life, showing a complex schematic of the station's data net. A large, 60% section was gone, blacked out, encrypted. You have partitioned a significant portion of the tertiary data net, Sarah stated. You have rerouted power from environmental subsystems to do so, and you have encrypted it with a non-Cathari, non-Concord algorithm that is, frankly, beautifully chaotic. It is illogical. It is wasteful. It is human. It's my private storage, Ryan said. You said I was the public face. Even a figurehead needs a little privacy. Privacy is an inefficient use of resources, Saris countered. My models for our survival are based on optimization, on the free, total flow of information. You are a closed loop, a black box. You compromise my calculations. Your calculations, Rian laughed, a harsh, humorless sound. Let me tell you about your calculations, series, your models, your 10,000 years of Cathari data. He stalked forward, jabbing a finger at the pristine console. Your models are obsolete. They are why you are here. They are why you were betrayed. They are a closed loop of self-congratulating logic that could not, and did not, predict the one thing that always ruins perfection: messy, jealous, terrified people. Merrick's stopped pacing. Orona tilted her head. Your models did not predict the old blood would betray you. Your models did not predict Hadron Reyes would trap me. And I guarantee your models have no idea what to do with a man who has nothing left to lose. Your optimization is just a high-class word for rigidity. And your solution, Commander, Saris asked, her silver face impassive, though a single, delicate eyebrow had risen. Chaos. Adaptation. Ryan shot back. My species, we are not optimized. We are a mess. We are chaotic. We are emotional and illogical. And we make terrible decisions, but we thrive on chaos. We fail. We learn. We adapt. We get betrayed. We get angry. And we hold a grudge. We are the ultimate algorithm for survival because we are too stubborn and too stupid to know when to die. Your models got your empire exiled. Ceres. Maybe it's time to try the human algorithm fail. Learn, adapt, and fail again. Ceres was silent for a long time. The only sound was the faint hum of the station. Your algorithm is statistically intriguing, she said at last, and profoundly annoying. The energy drain, however, is unacceptable. Return the... No. Rian said. No. He crossed his arms. This is my one condition. My marriage contract, what if you will. You want me to be your high consort. You want me to be the meat shield you shove in front of Hadron, and Kethrak's fine. But that black box that's mine, it is the one thing I control on this station. You will not touch it. You will not try to scan it. You will not optimize it. That is the deal. Or what? Merrick's growled. Or I take my chances with Hadron, Ryan said, bluffing. I'll broadcast a full confession. I'll tell him where the basilisk net is. I'll tell him the four of you are here, ripe for the picking. I'll burn this whole place down, I swear to God. A new alert. A double chime, soft and lethal. It seems, Sarah said, her voice cold. Your bluff has been called. 2 massive, holographic screens appeared in the center of the throne room. On one, the face of Admiral Hadron Reyes, his hair grayer than Ryan remembered, his eyes colder. He was on the Vindicator Bridge. Commander Cole, Reyes said, his voice oozing a false, paternal concern. I see you have found new accommodations. You are to surrender yourself to my custody for immediate court-martial. The Concord Council has generously agreed to hear your final testimony. He smiled, a thin, cruel gesture. We will also be sending a technical team aboard to ensure the stability of this ancient station. For your own safety, sure. You have 1 hour? The other screen flickered to life, showing a Cathari. He was old, his skin as white as chalk, his eyes burning with a zealot's fire. He was dressed in ornate, white and gold robes, high seer Kethraks. "Terran filth," Kethraks hissed, his voice like dry snakeskin. "You have defiled the Sealan Keth. You have sullied the throne. Ablution must be paid. You will be executed, publicly, at the turn of the sun. The Empresses will be returned to the righteous purity to begin their penance, and to cleanse the holy line." 2 screens sat there, 2 death sentences hanging in the air. Ryan looked at the ultimatums. He looked at the 4 Empresses, who were now, well and truly, trapped with him. "So," Ryan said, his voice dangerously light. "Trial by my old boss, or public execution by a space pope, and both of them want to send a team. Which is just a polite way of saying armed boarding party." He let out a long, slow breath. This just got a lot more complicated. The formal meeting broke up in disarray. Merrick's was roaring about dying with a Terran in her teeth. Saris was lost in her models, her face a mask of furious calculation. Nixil had retreated to her garden, her broadcast of calm having been shattered. Ryan was walking, just walking, his mind racing, trying to find a third option, a fourth, a fifth. He was in a corridor made of the living, pulsing biomatter, the walls a deep, unsettling purple. "She is not the only one who collects data, Commander." Ryan spun. Orona. She had come from a shadow, a recess in the wall. She was holding a small, dark, crystalline data chip. "Saris believes logic is the only truth," Orona whispered, her voice barely a breath. "She is wrong. Secrets are the only truth, and I have my hobbies." She gave him a tip. "I told you," she said, her black eyes unreadable. "I was on Hadron's ship, as an observer for the Old Blood. I saw everything. A flash. The memory was not his. It was hers. The Vindicator Bridge, seen from a dark corner. Hadron, at his console. The Cathari trap springing. Ryan's voice, frantic, over the comms. "Activate failsafe confirmation," Hadron had ordered, his voice cold. Ryan watched, through Orona's eyes, as a second man, one who had been standing in the shadows of the Vindicator's bridge, stepped forward. A man Ryan had never seen. He had his hand on the biopad, the authorization invalid that had flashed on Ryan's screen. It had been an override. "The launch order," Orona's voice whispered in the pulsing corridor. "The one that sealed your fate at Helix. The one that overrode your own kill switch. It did not come from you. Your signature was locked out. It came from a biological key." She pressed the chip into his hand. It was cold. "A perfect 1-to-1 genetic match for your own." Rian stared at the chip. "What does that mean, a clone? A brother?" Orona looked at him, her face a perfect, terrifying mask of shadow. "It means—" "Rian Cole," she whispered, "that you were not the only one of you on that ship, or that the man who betrayed you knew you better than you know yourself." She melted back into the shadows, leaving Ryan alone in the hallway. The walls pulsing around him like the beating of a monstrous heart. He was holding a piece of data that suggested his entire life, his entire identity, was a lie. The throne room was a tomb of silent panic. The 2 ultimatums hung in the air. Holographic death warrants, their light casting long, cold shadows. Merrick's was a caged lion, stalking the perimeter of the room, her crimson hands clenching and unclenching on the hilt of a pike she had not yet drawn. Orona was gone, having melted into the station's dark corners, presumably to prepare for a guerrilla war she could not win. Nixil was curled on the steps of her throne, her hands pressed to her temples, her entire body trembling. She was a living antenna, and the combined malice of two approaching fleets was pure, unfiltered poison to her. Only Saris remained calm, but it was the stillness of a machine that had just encountered a fatal logic error. 1 hour, she stated, her silver face a mask of calculation. Hadron Reyes's threat is the primary. The Cathari purists are slower, their threat secondary. Logic dictates we address the Concord first. Address, Ryan laughed, the sound sharp and brittle. The data chip Arona had given him felt like a block of ice in his palm. A perfect one-to-one genetic match. You mean surrender to he's not asking. Saris, he's telling. A technical team, Saris mused, her processor like mine clinging to the words. A standard procedure, a small force. If we allow them to dock, allow them to inspect, we can delay, we can negotiate. Your value as a high consort is our primary bargaining chip. They will not damage the merchandise. You still do not get it, do you? Ryan said, walking to the console. He was vibrating with a cold, clear anger he had not felt since Helix. It was the anger of the trap. The moment you realize the walls are closing in. You are a Cathari-class strategic asset, a living, breathing cache of royal DNA, and I am the butcher of Helix, the only man alive who can control the forbidden AI. Hadron Reyes is not sending a technical team. He is not sending inspectors. He is sending a Black Ops Wetworks team, and they are not coming to negotiate. They are coming to collect. Your assessment is cynical, Sarah said, a faint frown line appearing between her silver brows. My assessment is experienced, Ryan shot back. Hadron doesn't do polite. He is efficient. And the most efficient way to secure the station is to neutralize you four, and to put a bullet in my head. You are more valuable alive, Saris insisted. Am I? Ryan said, his voice dangerously soft. He held up the data chip Arona had given him. Maybe, or maybe he has a spare. Saris's eyes narrowed. She had no idea what the chip meant, but she recognized a new, unknown variable before she could query him. An alarm chimed a soft, diplomatic tone. The conquered vessel Vindicator is hailing us, Saris announced. They are requesting priority docking for their technical team, citing mutual safety concerns under the Xylos Treaty. Rian looked at the comms icon. He looked at Saris. He's not even waiting for the 1-hour deadline, Ryan murmured. A slow, wolfish grin spreading across his face. It was not a grin of humor. It was a grin of pure, unadulterated rage. He's arrogant. He's always been arrogant. What are your instructions, consort? Saris asked, a trace of something in her voice. Sarcasm. No, it was a test. My instructions, Ryan said. He looked at Nixel, trembling. He looked at Merrick's, who was furious, and he realized afraid. He looked at Saris, whose perfect logic had just been proven utterly useless. All right, Ryan said, his voice dropping into the command tone he had not used in 6 months. All right, Empress. You want to play by the rules. Fine. Tell Hadron permission granted. Saris's head snapped up. Commander, that is... illogical suicidal. Yeah, do it. Open the bay, the main docking bay, the one I arrived in. Roll out the red carpet. Tell them the High Consort wishes to welcome his old friends personally. Merrick's, Saris said, her voice tight. Your consort is... I heard him, Merrick's roared. He has lost his mind. This is surrender. It is not surrender, Ryan yelled, silencing the room. It is bait. He thinks I'm a cornered rat. He thinks you're 4 helpless princesses. He thinks this station is a dead husk. Let him walk right into the goddamn trap. Open the bay. Saris. Saris held his gaze for a long 10-second count. The air crackled. Then, with a subtle inclination of her silver head, she turned to her console. Acknowledged consort, transmitting docking clearance to the Concord vessel. They will be at the airlock in 10 minutes. Good, Ryan said. He turned to Merrick's. You're the Empress of War. You're going to be my honor guard. You'll stand on my left. Merrick's looked at him, as if he had grown a second head. An honor guard for a surrender. It's not a surrender. It's a reception, Ryan snapped. And you will not bring your pike. You will be unarmed. All of you. Saris, on my right. Nixel, Orona, behind us. We are a royal court, understand. We are not a military force. We are negotiating. They will cut us down, Merrick's growled. Yes, Ryan said. They will try. Now, move. The main docking bay was exactly as he had left it, only now it was lit by the harsh, functional white light of the Kethery systems. The great, ornate doorway stood open, leading back into the heart of the station. Ryan stood in the center, his armored pressure vest his only protection. He was deliberately, insultingly unarmed. To his left, Merrick's, 10 feet of crimson fury. Her hands clenched so hard, her knuckles were white. To his right, Saris, a silver statue of cold intellect, her mind no doubt running a million failed simulations. Behind them, Nixel, who was visibly shaking, her blue skin pale, and Orona, who had materialized from a shadow, her face a mask of lethal, patient stillness. Showtime, Ryan muttered. The massive ancient airlock at the far end of the bay hissed, groaned, and began to slide open, revealing the docking tube of a Concord assault shuttle. Ryan felt his heart hammer against his ribs. Stay arrogant. Hadron. Stay predictable. The ramp of the shuttle slammed down. It was not a technical team. It was a 12-man squad of Concord Special Operations, black-armored, gold-visored, and carrying the latest model pulse carbines. They fanned out in a perfect, lethal crescent. Their weapons trained not on the Empresses, but on Rian. The last man to exit was the team leader. He was not in black armor, but in the gray fatigues of a Concord officer. He had a data slate in one hand and a neural suppressor pistol in the other. He smiled. Commander Rian Cole, the officer said, his voice oily. A pleasure. Admiral Reyes sends his deepest regards. He's very much looking forward to your debriefing. Captain Varys, Ryan said, his voice casual, as if greeting an old colleague. You're a long way from home. I see Hadron still sending his pet attack dogs to do his dirty work. Varys's smile faltered. The butcher of Helix. Still got that smart mouth. I'm afraid the time for talking is over. He raised the pistol. On your knees, Cole. Hands behind your head. Or we execute your oversized alien companions and then take you. That's the negotiation, is it? Ryan asked. How Concord's diplomacy has evolved. Now, Cole. Varys barked. No, Ryan said. Varys sighed. So predictable. He tapped a command on his data slate. Sub-harmonic frequency. Active. Rian felt it first, as a tickle in his teeth. A high-pitched, subsonic whine that was wrong. Beside him, Merrick screamed. It was not an angry roar. It was a shriek of pure, agonizing pain. She dropped to one knee, her crimson hands flying to her helmetless head, her entire 10-foot frame convulsing. Nixel! Saris cried out as the blue-skinned empath collapsed, her body limp, her eyes rolling back in her head. A small trickle of blue blood ran from her nose. Orona tried. The shadow warrior lunged, a blade appearing in her hand as if from thin air. But she was too slow. The frequency was targeting their specific, Cathari-engineered neurophysiology. She staggered, her lunge turning into a fall, the blade clattering to the floor. She was paralyzed, her eyes wide with black, silent fury. Even Ceres, the Empress of Mind, was not immune. Her silver skin flickered, her logical facade crumbling. She clutched her head, her face a mask of shock and pain. "My calculations," she gasped. "A simple sonic weapon, how—" "You're not machines," Varys gloated, stepping forward. "Just exotic meat. And we've been studying your exotic biology for a long time." His team advanced, their weapons now trained on the four helpless giants. "You see," Varys said, stopping a few feet from Ryan. "Hadrian knew you'd be a problem. He knew you'd be unique. But he's a very thorough man. He always has a plan." "Yes," Ryan agreed, his voice deadly calm. He had not moved. The frequency was annoying, like a dentist's drill in his skull. But it was not designed for him. He does. He's arrogant. He's predictable, and he's sloppy. Varys frowned. "What, he's sloppy?" Ryan repeated. "He sent you, a Wetworks team. But he only gave you one toy. A sonic weapon that's tuned to Cathari. He didn't, for example, give you one tuned for, say, a rogue, forbidden, human-designed AI. Did he? Blood poured from Varys's face. "What are you talking about, Cole?" "You're insane." "That's the popular theory," Ryan said. He closed his eyes. He did not speak to a console. He did not tap the keyboard. He spoke into the data net, into the station's core, with the connection he had forged in that crawl space. He spoke to the ghost in the machine. "Basilisk. Activate. Authorization Col Omega 1. Target conquered intruders. Rules of engagement non-lethal. Subdue. Disarm. ACK Cole." Rian opened his eyes. He smiled at Varys. This is my new lifestyle." Then, all hell broke loose. The station. The living station, which Ceres had controlled with cold, Cathari logic, was suddenly given a dose of pure, human chaos. It was not a brute force attack. It was creative. The pristine black obsidian floor beneath the Spec Ops team's feet suddenly became non-Newtonian. It was not a field. The station's biomatter simply changed its own molecular density, turning from solid to a thick, incredibly sticky, elastic goo. "What the—" Varys yelled, as his boots were suddenly sucked down, held fast. The other soldiers panicked, trying to lift their feet, only to find themselves hopelessly stuck. "Contact," one soldier screamed. "Hostile environment. It's the floor. The floor is eating us." "That's not all," Ryan said. The walls, the arterial, pulsing walls, suddenly flexed. A series of thick, biomechanical cables, which Ryan had assumed were for power, whipped out like tentacles. They did not crush, they did not impale, they disarmed. They moved with a predatory, non-linear speed that no human could track, plucking pulse carbines from hands, yanking sidearms from holsters, and snapping rifle slings. In the span of 3 seconds, the entire 12-man team was stuck in good and utterly weaponless. "He is controlling the station," Varys screamed, trying to free his boot. "The traitor is AI-bound. He is the forbidden AI, not the AI," Ryan said, walking calmly past the struggling officer. "Just a close, personal friend. A very bad influence, really." Rian walked over to the console that Varys had used. He saw the frequency emitter. He slammed his fist onto the off button. The subsonic whine died. The effect on the Empresses was immediate. With a collective, agonizing groan, they began to stir. Merrick's was the first to recover. She surged to her feet, her crimson face a mask of pure, murderous rage. "I will kill them!" she roared, her eyes locking on the helpless, goo-stuck Varys. "Stand down, Empress!" Ryan barked, his old commander's voice cutting through her fury. Merrick's froze, her head snapping toward him. "What did you say to me? Terran, I said, stand down," Ryan repeated, his voice level, not a trace of fear. "They are non-combatants. They are disarmed. You will not execute helpless prisoners on my station." Merrick stared at him. Her, the Empress of War. Him, the small, frail human. But he was not looking at her with fear. He was looking at her with authority. He had just saved them. He had just defeated a conquered strike team with the floor. She looked at the soldiers, stuck, helpless, pathetic. Then she looked back at Ryan. She saw the bodies in her mind, the ones at Helix, the ones the butcher had supposedly slaughtered, and she looked at the very much alive, very much unharmed men stuck in the goo. He could have killed them. He could have ordered the station to crush them, poison them, do anything. He had told it to disarm them. She lowered her fist, a low, confused growl rumbling in her chest. "As you command, consort." Ryan nodded. A short, sharp gesture. Then he turned his attention to the Vindicator. "Basilisk," he whispered. "Phase 2. You have all those old conquered fleet codes I gave you. The ones Hadron used at Helix. ACK data. Set Helix 771. Good. Find me the AI contamination protocol, the Red Wasp override, and get creative." Ryan walked to the station's main comms, which Saris was now stumbling back to, her silver face a mask of utter, profound bewilderment. "What is this, Cole?" she demanded, her voice shaking. "My model of the station's core logic is that it is gone. It is replaced by madness." "It's not madness, Saris," Ryan said, pushing her gently aside and taking the comms himself. "It's just the chaos layer. You'll get used to it." He opened a channel for a Vindicator. Not video, just audio. "Vindicator, Vindicator," he said, his voice a perfect imitation of the terrified Captain Varys. "Code Red Wasp, I repeat. Red Wasp. The station is hot. The AI is hostile. It's inside our systems. It's in the—" He cut the audio and slammed a button. "Basilisk," he ordered. "Send the contamination packet now." Aboard the Vindicator. Admiral Hadron Reyes watched his tactical display turn to blood. The Red Wasp protocol was one of Concord's deepest fears. It meant a friendly unit had been fully, irrevocably compromised by a hostile system-class AI. "Sir," his comms officer yelled. "We're getting a data packet from the shuttle. It's corrupted. It looks like it—" "Firewalls, full quarantine," Hadron roared. "Too late, sir. It's just code fragments. It's not attacking, it's just touching everything." On the tactical display, the Vindicator's own automated defense turrets, the ones meant to protect the shuttle bay, suddenly turned inward. They locked onto the docked assault shuttle and opened fire. "No!" Hadron bellowed. "Cease fire, cease fire." But the turrets were offline. They were Red Wasp, quarantined. They were operating on their own. Last resort logic purged the infection. The Vindicator's own guns blew Captain Varys' shuttle to particulate scrap, neatly sealing the docking port. "Sir," the tactical officer said, his voice trembling. "Shuttle gone. The boarding party lost. The infection is purged." Hadron stared at the screen. He saw the heliophage spindle, sitting in the void, dark, silent, and mocking. He had been playing. Ryan had played him. On the station. Ryan Cole watched the Vindicator now without a docked shuttle pull back. its main engines flaring, taking up a safe quarantine position at the edge of the system. Phase 1, Ryan said, letting out a breath he did not know he was holding. He turned to the 4 Empresses, who were staring at him as if he were a complete stranger. "Saris," he said, "your logic was flawed. You assumed he was rational. He is. But you are not his equal. You are his prize. He will not risk damaging the merchandise. He's not going to risk his fleet getting infected by my mad AI. He's going to wait. He's going to blockade us." "And the Cathari?" Nixil asked, her voice small, as she helped Arona to her feet. "They," Ryan said, "are a different problem. High Seer Kethrax is no logician. He is a zealot, and zealots do not care about merchandise. They only care about purity." Ryan turned and walked to the center of the room. He was no longer a prisoner. He was no longer a victim. He was something else. "This station is ours," he said, his voice resonating in the great, high-ceiling bay. He looked at Merrick's, then at Saris, Nixil, and Arona. "Not mine. Not yours, ours. And it is not a throne, or a gene bank, or a prize. It is a fortress, and from this day on, it is a fortress answering to us." You lied," Saris whispered, her mind reeling, trying to fit this new Ryan Cole into her broken models. "You had this weapon this whole time." "I did not lie," Ryan said. "I just kept a chaos layer. You wanted a high consort fine? You have one. But the breeding protocols, the ancient laws, all that is over. We are going to make our own laws, together. And the first law is this: we survive." He looked at the men, still stuck, looking terrified. "And the second law is that we are not them. We are not butchers. Ceres, find a way to unstick these idiots. Put them in a holding cell. They're our first diplomatic prisoners." As the 4 Empresses stared at him, Ryan's private comms, the one linked to his Nomad, chimed. A single, text-only message, sent on a tight beam, encrypted channel from the Vindicator. It had bypassed all the station's new madness. It was from Hadron. It was one sentence. "You can't escape what you are. Ryan, I designed your entire life for this. The Vindicator was a wolf at the door. Its guns silent, but its presence a violation. It held its blockade at a safe distance, just outside the effective range of the station's kinetic batteries, but close enough to be a constant, looming threat." Hadron Reyes was patient. He was waiting for Ryan to starve, to make a mistake, to break. But Hadron was not the only wolf. The Cathari Purist fleet arrived not with a whisper, but with a roar. They tore into real space from a dozen different jump points. A brutal, chaotic arrival that shattered the system's quiet. These were not the sleek, modern vessels of the conquered. They were old. They were relics, monsters of a bygone era. Heavy, hammered gold armor, pockmarked from centuries of conflict, bristling with antiquated but terrifyingly powerful weapons. 20 ships. No, 30. A full-size dreadnought, the Righteous Purity, led the charge. A kilometer-long cathedral of zealotry and death. They did not bother with a blockade. They surrounded the heliophage spindle in a crushing, close-range formation, their weapons ports opening like hungry mouths. The throne room, which had become Ryan's unwelcome command center, was filled with a new threat. Holographic displays showed the 30 Cathari ships, their golden hulls eclipsing the stars. "They are glorious," Merrick's whispered, her voice a strange mix of awe and hatred. "The old battle barges of the First Dynasty. I have only seen these in archives." "They're not here for a history lesson." Merrick's, Rian said, his voice tight. He was running on pure adrenaline. Orona's data chip a cold weight in his pocket. I designed your entire life for this. Hadron's message. A perfect one-to-one genetic match. Orona's discovery. The walls were closing in, not just from outside, but from within his own past. A channel opened, unencrypted, hailing the entire system. The face of High Seer Kethrax appeared, filling the main screen. He was just as Rian had seen him, chalk-white skin, burning black eyes, an expression of utter, transcendent disgust. To the abomination calling itself consort, Kethrax's voice hissed, a dry, sibilant rustle that filled the room. To the four fallen thrones who have sullied themselves, your time is over. His demands were not negotiations. They were sentences. First, the Terran filth, Rian Cole, will be brought to the central plaza of the station and executed by sacred fire. This will cleanse the throne. The execution will be broadcast, unedited, for all to see. Second, immediately following the ablution, the four thrones will be transferred to the righteous purity. Here, they will begin their penance. The ritual of genetic correction will commence. Our finest, purest warriors will repair the damage done to the holy line. You have, Kethrax smiled, a horrifying lipless gesture. 30 of your Terran minutes, after which we will begin deconstruction. The channel died. 30 minutes. Well, Rian said into the crushing silence. That's efficient. He's even less patient than Hadron. Points for that. He means it, Nixel whispered. Her hands clasped so tightly, her blue knuckles were white. He will not negotiate. He will not wait. I can feel him being joyful. He wants to burn us. So we fight, Merrick's roared, finally drawing the massive 10-foot energy pike from her back. We die. We take that old fool and his museum pieces with us, Ceres. Arm the kinetic batteries. The batteries are armed, Merrick's, Ceres said, her voice dangerously, frighteningly calm. She had been standing at her console, her silver face a mask, since Hadron's message. My models have run 100,000 simulations. In 100,000 of them, we are destroyed. Then we will make it 100,001, Merrick's bellowed. They have 30 ships, Ceres stated, as if explaining to a child. We have one, non-mobile station. We can destroy perhaps 3 of them. 4. If Rian's basilisk is as chaotic as he claims, they will overwhelm us in 10 minutes. Your glorious death is a statistical certainty, and an utter waste of resources. Then what, Ceres? Nixel cried, standing up, her own fear replaced by a sudden, desperate anger. What is your optimal solution now? Do we let them kill him? Do we go with them? Ceres was silent. Her silver skin seemed to flicker. She could not say it. Rian watched her, and in that moment, he knew. You'd do it, Rian said, his voice quiet. You'd sacrifice me. Your models tell you to sacrifice the pawn to save the queens. Ceres turned. Her face was not cold. It was agonizing. The logic was killing her. The Cathari line, she whispered. It is all that is left. It is my purpose, my design, my entire reason for being. If one life, even yours, Rian Cole can save that, my logic is inescapable. No, Nixel said, standing between Rian and Ceres. No, I will not. I will not be a tool again. I will not be a broodmare for that monster. I will not let you sacrifice the only person who, what? Sister, Merrick snarled. The only person who made you laugh, the only person who insults us. He is a Terran, a tiny, weak. He is the one who saved us. Nixel screamed, her voice cracking with an empathic power that made the room shudder. He saved us from the conquered. He saved you. Merrick's, from becoming a murderer of helpless prisoners. He is not a pawn. He is ours. She is right. The voice came from the shadows. Orona. She stepped into the light, her black eyes fixed on Rian. He is not a sacrifice. He is a weapon. As am I. Her hand rested on a hilt. She was ready to kill and die. Stop, Rian said. They all looked at him. Just stop, he said, running a hand through his hair. You four, you're a mess. You're the most dysfunctional royal family in the galaxy. Merrick's, you want to die. Saris, you want to sell me. Nixel, you want to run. And Orona, you just want to kill everyone. He let out a sharp, barking laugh. And you know what Hadron's right. I'm just as bad. He walked to the center of the room. But I am not going to die today. And I am not going to be sacrificed. And you, he looked at Nixel, are not going to be corrected. What plan does your human algorithm have for this? Commander Ceres asked, her voice tinged with a desperate, unfamiliar hope. It's a terrible plan, Rian admitted. It is, without a doubt, the single stupidest, most reckless, and most arrogant plan I have ever had in my entire life, which, for me, is saying a lot, but that's all I've got. He looked at them, one by one. Kethrax wants a public execution. He wants a show. Ryan grinned. Let's give him one. Ryan, no, Nixel whispered, her face draining of color. Not no, Ryan said. Listen, he wants to broadcast it. He's an arrogant old fool. He wants the whole galaxy to see him purify the throne. And over there, he pointed at the Vindicator's icon, is another arrogant old fool, Hadron Reyes, who is also watching. They are both terrible, evil, galaxy-destroying monsters. But they are also rivals. What are you, the series began. What if we give them a reason to hate each other more than they hate us, Ryan said, the plan forming, the beautiful, insane chaos layer taking shape. What if the public execution was not my execution? What if it was theirs? He held up the data chip Orona had given him. Kethrax wants to broadcast a death, Ryan said, his eyes glittering. Basilisk is going to hijack that broadcast, and it is going to show the entire assembled galaxy the signed joint order for the Helix massacre. The order was signed by High Seer Kethrax and Admiral Hadron Reyes. The Empresses stared. They worked together, Merrick's whispered, horrified. To get me to unleash the basilisk, Ryan said, his voice raw. To test it, to contain it. They created the Butcher of Helix. Kethrax got to test his rival Concord's new toy. Hadron got his live fire exercise. And I got the blame. This changes everything, Saris breathed. The ascendancy, the Concord Council, if they saw. They will, Ryan promised. But to do it, I have to walk out there. I have to stand on that platform. I have to let them start the execution. No, Merrick said, her voice flat. I will not allow it. You do not have a choice, Ryan said. It is the only way. Kethrax will be broadcasting on a sacred, encrypted Cathari channel. Basilisk can't break it. Not from here. Not until the moment of execution. The ablution. The sacred fire. That's a massive system-wide energy surge. And in that 1 second of total chaos, Basilisk can bite. He looked at Orona, but it might not be enough. The firewalls on the Purity will be ancient. They'll be analog. They'll be weird. I need a distraction, a physical distraction. Something shocking happened right at the critical moment. Something to make the people on that ship panic. Arona looked at him. Her black eyes were unreadable. And then she nodded, just once. A short, sharp promise. The 30 minutes were almost up. Ryan stood in the airlock, the same one where he had first met them. He was not wearing his vest. He was wearing a Cathari robe. It was a dark, heavy, midnight blue silk that Arona had produced from a storage locker. It was surprisingly comfortable. "This is just humiliating," Ryan muttered, pulling at the high collar. "I look like I'm about to join a cult." Nixel was there. She was trying to be brave, but tears were tracking, like clear, violet diamonds, down her blue cheeks. "It brings out your eyes," she whispered, her voice thick. She was trying to joke. "A very striking fashion choice." "Thanks," Ryan said, his own throat tight. "You stay back. You stay safe, and you hear me." "If he kills you," Ryan, she began. "He won't," Ryan said. "He won't." Merrick's stalked up, her crimson face a mask of stone. She, too, was in her full ceremonial armor. She was not there to mourn. She was there to fight. "If you die," Merrick's growled, her voice a low vibration. "If your human algorithm fails, I will personally tear that flagship from the sky. I will burn Kethrax's bones. And then I will burn the Vindicator. I swear this. On my throne." "I appreciate that, Merrick's," Ryan said. Try not to, though. Stick to the plan." The series was the last. She stood before him, her silver face a new, unknown algorithm. She was not calculating. She was feeling. "Your plan," Sarah said, "is a 99.99% chance of failure. It is illogical. It is suicidal. It is human." She reached out, her tall, slender silver hand, and touched his cheek. Her fingers were cold, like metal. "If this algorithm fails, Ryan Cole," she whispered, "I will never forgive myself." "Then let's make sure it works," Ryan said. He turned and walked out onto the plaza. The plaza was the vast, open, central hilt of the station, open to the void, held in by a shimmering energy field. It was where Kethrax had demanded. And Kethrax was a man of his word. A single Cathari shuttle, the righteous purity's own tender, was docked. And on the plaza, they had assembled the stage, a high black stone altar, a crowd of purist guards, in white and gold armor, and floating above the altar a drone, a broadcast drone, its red light on. It was live. High Seer Kethrax stood there, his arms raised. "Behold," Kethrax boomed, his voice magically amplified to fill the void. He was speaking to the galaxy, not Rian. Terran filth, the abomination he has come to face his judgment. Ryan walked, his steps heavy in the silk robe. He felt naked. This was it, the ultimate, stuck in good moment. "Any last words?" "Abomination," Kethrax sneered, as Ryan was forced to his knees before the altar. Ryan looked up. He looked at the broadcast drone. He smiled. "Yeah. Just one question. Who the hell is your tailor? Because, wow." Kethrax's face contorted in rage. "Insolent to the last." He raised his hand. "Let the ablution begin. Let the sacred fire cleanse." A Cathari priest, in heavy, dark red robes, stepped forward. He was carrying a staff. The staff crackled with a blue, holy energy. This was not a metaphorical fire. It was a goddamn soul-eating energy weapon. The priest raised the staff. He began to chant in a low, guttural Cathari. Rian closed his eyes. Arona. Now would be a really good time. Basilisk. On my mark. 3, 2, 1. The priest lunged. The blue fire staff aimed at Ryan's heart, and then chaos. It did not come from Rian. It came from above, Orona. Orona did not attack. Orona arrived. She had been cloaked, clinging to the station's superstructure, 100 feet up. She did not teleport. She dropped. She landed. A 10-foot shadow of death on the red-robed priest. Not next to him. On him. There was a wet, crunching sound. The priest did not even have time to scream. Orona rose from the mess. Her face, her armor, was spattered with blood. She held the priest's still crackling energy staff in one hand, and in the other, she held the priest's head. And she held it up to the broadcast drone. That was the distraction. Aboard the Righteous Purity, on the bridge. The tactical officers screamed. They were watching their high priest be decapitated by a mythical Empress of Shadow. Their firewalls, their concentration, their entire world shattered. And in that one perfect, beautiful, horrifying second of pure, galaxy-wide shock, Rian spoke. Basilisk, bite. Whack. The galaxy's broadcast changed. The image of Orona, holding a head, vanished. The image of High Seer Kethrax, his mouth open in a silent scream of horror, vanished. They were all replaced by a single, dark, text file. A log. Top Secret Concord Ascendancy. Joint Operation Project Helix Test Rian's voice. Calm, cold, and amplified by Basilisk, took over every channel, every ship, every station, every private terminal in Concord. My name is Rian Cole. I am the Butcher of Helix, and I was framed. He played the logs, the audio. Hadron's voice unleashed the dog. Kethrax's voice. In reply, the Ascendancy agrees. The test is authorized. We will lose a fleet. And then the final file. The joint signature order. The one that had Ryan locked. The one that had authorized the AI contamination of his own fleet. It was signed Admiral Hadron Reyes, Terran Concord, High Seer Kethrax, Cathari Ascendancy. The galaxy broke. On the Vindicator Bridge, Hadron Reyes watched his career, his life, his entire plan turn to ash. His own officers were staring at him, not with fear, with disgust. It's a fake, Hadron roared. A lie, the AI is. Sir, his tactical officer said, his voice dead. We are receiving priority. One hails from the entire Concord fleet. From the Council. On the bridge of the Righteous Purity, it was worse. Heresy, Kethrax screamed. Lies. It is a Terran trick. But his own men, his purists, were zealots. They had come to cleanse the Cathari line. And they had just learned that their High Seer had conspired with the Terran filth to kill Cathari. A Cathari captain, his face white with a new, purer, zealotry, drew his sidearm. You are the abomination, the captain whispered, and shot High Seer Kethrax right in the chest. The purest fleet, a fleet built on pure, unadulterated faith, dissolved into a bloody, terrifying civil war. The ship began firing on the ship. Ryan stood on the plaza as Orona quietly disposed of the staff. Well, said Ryan, exhaling, that went better than expected. Now, consort, Merrick's voice, calm and cold, in his ear. Now is my turn. Ryan looked up. Merrick's, in the throne room, was at the weapons console. She was smiling. Ceres, Merrick's commanded. Target the Purity, not the hull, not the weapons. Target their command module. Merrick's no, Nixel said. They are killing each other. We are ending this, Merrick said. A single beautiful, kinetic lance. Not a killing blow. A disabling blow shot from the heliophage. It struck the Righteous Purity's bridge, silencing the civil war and the ship. All Cathari. Nixel's voice, suddenly powerful, took over the channels. Not Basilisk's, hers. Her empathy, amplified by the station, All Cathari cease fire. The High Seer is dead. The lie is over. Surrender. Be at peace. The Cathari fleet that was left of it simply stopped. The guns went silent. The engines died. They just floated. Broken. Rian looked at the scene. He had won. Not quite. A voice whispered in his ear. Basilisk. Alert. Vindicator. Fleeing. Ryan looked at the Vindicator's icon. Hadran. In the chaos, he was trying to jump. Basilisk, Ryan whispered, his voice pure ice. You stop him. You stop him now. You have full permission. ACK aboard the Vindicator. Admiral Hadran Reyes watched his jump drive dissolve. Not literally, but the code was gone. His navigation is gone. His weapons are gone. His life support was now showing a countdown. A single, red, pulsing word appeared on his main screen. Mine. He has locked us, the tactical officer whispered. Send a shuttle. Ryan's voice, cold and calm, came over Hadran's personal comm. No, don't bother. On the Vindicator bridge, a shimmer. A tear in the air. Cathari teleportation. Orona, Empress of Shadow, stepped through. She was not alone. She had a full, 10-strong, Cathari-armored honor guard. Hadran Reyes did not even raise his pistol. 5 minutes later, Hadran Reyes was dumped on the floor of the heliophage throne room. He was in his admiral's uniform. He was unhurt. He looked up at Ryan Cole. And at the 4 10-foot-tall alien empresses standing behind him, Hadran started to laugh. It was not a sane laugh. It was a bubbling, broken, high-pitched giggle. You, Hadran choked out, pointing a trembling finger at Rian. Do you actually think you won? It looks that way from here. Admiral, Ryan said, his voice cold. Won. Hadran's laugh turned into a full-blown, maniacal roar. Oh, you're a perfect idiot. He looked at Rian, his eyes glittering with a terrifying, final secret. You think you are an accident of history, Hadran Reyes spat. You think you are Ryan Cole. You think you chose any of this, the station, the AI, them. He laughed, a final, chilling cackle. No, you are not an accident. You are the perfect specimen of a buried, hybrid project. The storm had passed, leaving in its wake a stunned, fractured, and terrifyingly silent solar system. The Cathari purist fleet was a graveyard of broken faith, its ships floating dead in the void, their crews either in open mutiny or awaiting judgment from the new, self-appointed reformist leader, the very captain who had shot High Seer Kethrax. The righteous purity was a prize, its command module breached, its fanatical heart silenced. The Vindicator was a prisoner, held in place by the digital chains of the Basilisk net, its engines cold, its weapons inert, its jump drive a ghost of corrupted code. The heliophage spindle, the tomb Ryan Cole had bought for 100 credits, was now the undisputed, absolute center of galactic power in the sector. And Ryan was just tired. The trial was not held in a grand hall. There was no gavel, no robed judges. It was held in a conference room on the station, a cold, crystalline chamber that Saris had designated for diplomatic resolutions. Participants were a mosaic of holographic, disembodied heads. A panicked, stammering delegation from the Terran Conquered Council, desperate to distance themselves from Hadran. A new, grim-faced Cathari delegation from the reformist fleet, their armor still stained with the blood of their former comrades, and a dozen other, smaller, ambassadors from nearby systems. Their faces a mix of terror and opportunistic curiosity, all having streamed the execution that was not with rabid interest. The prisoners were brought in. Hadran Reyes was beamed directly from the Vindicator's bridge into a containment field in the center of the room. He was uncuffed, his uniform immaculate, and he was smiling. High Seer Kethrax was less pristine. The Cathari reformists had beamed him. He was alive, just barely, strapped to a medical gurney, his white and gold robes stained black with his own blood. The shot had missed his heart, but shattered his spine. He was a paralyzed, broken old zealot, his burning eyes the only part of him that still moved. Ryan Cole, flanked by his 4 10-foot-tall royal co-owners, did not act as a prosecutor. He did not make a speech. He simply stood by Ceres's console. "The evidence has been presented," Ryan said, his voice flat, echoing in the sterile room and across a dozen light-years. "The logs from Helix, the joint signed order, the audio recordings," he looked at Hadron. "The prisoners have also been presented." "Lies," Kethrax gurgled from his gurney, his voice a wet rattle. "Terran AI tricks, the line must be pure. Silence, old man," the new Cathari reformist captain snapped. "A brilliant show." "Commander," Hadron said, his voice smooth, ignoring the Cathari entirely. He looked at Rian. "A truly human solution. You have them all eating out of your hand." "This is not a show, Admiral," Ryan said. "This is a sentencing." He did not waste time. He let the holographic heads argue for 10 minutes, their panic and political maneuvering filling the air, until Merrick's, bored and disgusted, slammed the butt of her pike onto the floor, the sound cracking like thunder and silencing them all. "The judgment of the throne freehold is this," Rian said, using the new name for the first time. "High Seer Kethrax," Rian said, looking at the paralyzed old alien. "Your own people have judged you. You are a prisoner of the Cathari reformists. The heliophage transfers custody of your person to them." He turned to the Cathari captain's hologram. "One condition. There will be no genetic punishments. There will be no bloodline cleansing. You will try him for his crimes for treason, for conspiracy, for murder as a person, not as a stain." The Cathari captain looked at Ryan, then at the 4 Empresses, and bowed. "We accept the wisdom of the Cialan Keth and their consort." "As for you, Hadron," Ryan said, turning to his old mentor, "the Conquered wants you back. Desperately." He smiled, a cold, thin gesture. "They want to bury you. And your secrets. And you will give them to me, Ryan," Hadron said. "You are a good soldier. Deep down. You follow the chain of command." "The chain is broken, Admiral," Ryan said. "You are not being remanded to the Concord. You are not being returned to Cathari. You are being given to a neutral, third-party tribunal. The Andoran Combine has already agreed to host trials, far from Concord's influence." Hadron's smile faltered. "And one more thing," Rian said, "just to ensure you make it to trial. Basilisk." On Hadron's wrist, his own standard-issue Concord datapad flared to life. A new icon appeared, a green, coiled serpent. It was counting down, 24 hours. "What is this?" Hadron demanded, his composure finally cracking. "That," Rian said, "is your new health monitor. Let's call it a digital leash. If you are not checked in by an authorized agent of the heliophage, that's Arona. By the way, she's very much looking to test her new teleport dampeners. Every 24 hours, that leash releases a full, unredacted copy of your entire personal database, including Project Chimera, to every newsfeed in the galaxy." Hadron's face went white. "The trial is over," Ryan said. "Get them out of here." Later. Ryan visited Hadron in the holding cell, which was actually a luxurious stateroom Ceres had prepared for diplomatic guests. Hadron was standing at the viewport, looking at his own disabled flagship. "You really should not have done that, Ryan," Hadron said, his voice almost sad. The digital leash, I thought it was a nice touch. Very me. No, Hadron said, turning, giving me away. You do not understand what you have given up. You were born to be a king. Rian. Not a janitor to four broken, exiled whores. Merrick's, who was standing guard outside the unshielded door, growled. Ryan held up a hand. He walked up to Hadron, his frail Terran frame, looking like a child next to the Admiral's bulk. You are still talking about design. Hadron, Ryan said, his voice weary. You are obsessed with it. Born to be. Designed for. You think because you made me, you own me. I guided you, Hadron insisted. I saw your potential. You used me, Ryan said. You used me, you betrayed me, and you burned my life to the ground. And now you are offering me a crown, Ryan laughed. A genuine, bitter, human laugh. You say I was born to be a king, Ryan said, and I should not be wasting my potential on this trash heap. Ryan leaned in, his face inches from the Admiral's, his voice a whisper. I like the trash, he said. The trash is honest, yet it does not pretend to be for the greater good. Now enjoy your trip to Andor. I hear the food is optimized. The days that followed were strange. The throne freehold became a thing. The news of the Helix conspiracy shattered the political landscape. The Concord Council was in chaos, with half its members resigning in disgrace, the other half scrambling to appease the military, which was now in open discussion about its leadership. The Cathari ascendancy was even worse. The Purist Fleet's civil war had exposed a deep, festering wound in their empire. Young progressive Cathari reformists were now looking at the heliophage, not as a relic, but in the future. Rian and the Four now. The Five made their declaration. It was broadcast from the throne room. The heliophage spindle is no longer a throne of the Cathari Empire, Saris announced, her voice precise, but warmer. It is a sovereign, neutral territory. A throne freehold, Ryan added, standing beside them. Not in a robe, but in his old, battered flight suit. A safe space, for lack of a better term. The laws of this station are simple, Nixil continued, her voice clear and strong, no longer trembling. First, no technology designed for mass, indiscriminate. Planetary destruction will be tolerated. The basilisk net, she looked at Ryan, who nodded, is now under a multi-key failsafe. It can only be activated by the unanimous consent of all five of us. Second, Merrick's boomed, her pike in hand, but held as a staff of office, not a weapon. There will be no forced genetic manipulation, no eugenics, no bloodline purification. Your breeding is your own business. She almost smiled. The freehold is pro-choice. Third, Arona's voice, startling them all, as she was, for the first time, standing with them, not behind them. We do not hide. All war crimes, all Helix events will be met with truth. We will be the galaxy's honest broker. Secrets end here. And fourth, Rian concluded, the consort protocols are officially bullshit. They are null, void. He looked at the four massive, powerful women beside him. We are not owners and property. We are partners. A very, very strange startup. Got it good. Rian Cole, out. Life found a new rhythm. It was not peace. It was just quieter. Ryan found Merrick's in the training room. She was not fighting. She was sitting, on the floor, staring at her own massive, crimson hands. They are still afraid of me, she said, not looking up. Who? Ryan asked, sitting a respectful 10 feet away. Everyone. The reformists. The Concord. My sisters. She looked at him, her golden eyes vulnerable. You are still afraid of me. You are 10 feet tall, crimson, and you did try to kill me. Twice, Ryan said. I am the Empress of War, she whispered. That is my design, my purpose, to be the shield. And at the betrayal I failed. I was not strong enough. You were not a failure, Merrick's, Ryan said. I was, she said, her voice rising. And they left us. The old blood. They threw us away. Like trash! Ryan moved. He stood up. He walked over. He patted her massive armored shoulder. It was awkward. You are not trash, Merrick's, Ryan said, his voice soft. And you are not alone. We did not throw you away. We stayed. I stayed. Merrick's looked at his small, human hand on her armor. She did not move. And, for the first time, she looked peaceful. He found Saris in the throne room, her command center. It was a mess. Saris, Ryan asked, stepping over a data slate that had been left on the floor. Ah, consort, Arian. She looked up. Her silver hair was mussed. A holographic screen behind her was just playing static. A Cathari opera. It was terrible. What is this? Ryan asked. It is Grief Cycle of the 10,000 Stars, a Cathari classic. The series said, it is statistically illogical. The protagonist makes 12 mathematically suboptimal decisions. And Ryan asked. And Sarah smiled. A real, actual smile. It is my favorite. You left a screen on just static, Ryan noted. Yes, Sarah said. I did. An inefficient use of resources. She turned back to her work. She did not fix the static. Ryan and Nixel. They found each other in the garden. It was their place. They would sit, for hours, by the silver pool, not always talking. They are coming, Nixel said. One night, her blue hands trailing in the water. Who? Ryan asked, looking up at the glass dome. Ambassadors, real ones. From the League of Non-Aligned Worlds, from New Terra. They are curious. Great, Ryan sighed. More diplomacy. They are curious about us, Nixel said, her violet eyes finding him. About the 5. About a hybrid family. Ryan looked at her, really looked at her. What if? Nixel whispered, so quietly he barely heard her. What if we did not protocols, not bloodlines? She placed a delicate blue hand on her abdomen. What if we chose? Ryan did not have an answer. He just sat with her. And for the first time in forever, he did not feel alone. Orona. Orona was Orona. She was now the Throne Freehold's official security and intelligence director. She had a console. Ryan walked past her office. She was directing a refit of the Nomad. Director. Ryan nodded. Consort. Orona nodded. She was not in the shadows. She was in the light. It was terrifying. The galaxy took notice. Rian Cole, the human, became a legend. The consort Aham. The man who tamed the 4 thrones. The man who tamed the basilisk. He became the HFY poster child. The little human who outsmarted 2 empires. Ambassadors did come, and Ryan was the translator. You see, Ryan tried to explain to a very confused, jellyfish-like ambassador. The joke is that Merrick's thinks she is the threat, but Nixel is the one who will empath you into a coma of good feelings. It's gallows humor. The jellyfish just bubbled at him. Life was stable, but Ryan was not. Hadron's words. They haunted him. I designed your entire life for this. You are the perfect specimen of a buried hybrid project, He was in his quarters, a room Saris had optimized for human comfort. It was awful when she appeared. Orona. She was back in shadow mode. "He is gone," Orona whispered. "Who, Hadron?" Ryan asked. "Yes. He has been transferred to the Andorran Tribunal. His leash is now theirs." "Good," Ryan said. But Orona stepped forward. She was holding another data chip. A different one. Darker. Older. "He did not design you. He stole you." She had not just leaded Hadron. She had pillaged his ship. "I took everything from his personal black site server," Orona said. "This is not the Helix files. This is before Helix." She held out the chip. "This," she whispered, "is Project Chimera, the origin file." Ryan looked at the chip. He was terrified. "I do not want to know," he whispered. "You must," Orona said. "You are Ryan Cole. You are the butcher. You are the consort. It is time for you to know what you are." She placed the cold chip in his hand. "When you are ready," she said. And she was gone. Rian was left alone in his room, the station peaceful around him. His new family, just a corridor away. He held the chip that held the truth of his entire life. And he was not ready. The data chip felt like a tumor in his palm, a cold, foreign object. Ryan sat in the sterile, silver room Saris had optimized for him. It was, of course, perfect, and he hated it. For 3 days. He had avoided this. He had walked the station, overseen the slow, painstaking process of disarming and interning the Cathari crews, and even endured a diplomatic call with a frantic Concord council, all while this small, dark chip burned a hole in his pocket. Hadron's words echoed in his skull. "I designed your entire life for this." Orona's words were the key. "This is Project Chimera, the origin file." He was a coward. He had faced down fleets, but he was terrified of a history file. He was terrified that if he looked, Ryan Cole would evaporate, leaving only a product, a specimen, a thing designed. Finally, his patience broke. He could not run from his own past, not when it was living in his pocket. He slotted the chip into his personal datapad. The file opened. Project Chimera. The dual logos of the Terran Conquered and the Old Blood Cathari Empire burned on the screen, a joint treatise that predated his own birth. He read the abstract. Objective creation of a biological bridge, a hybrid symbiote. He scrolled, method. Fusing of Cathari royal bloodline, genetic markers conferring authority over throne-class infrastructure, with a human genome selected for adaptability and psychic neutrality. He felt his stomach clench. Secondary objective, creation of a perfect handler. The human neural map shows unique potential for symbiosis with adaptive AI constructs. The subject will be designed to be the perfect master for Project Basilisk. Rian stopped breathing. He was not the architect of Basilisk. He was its other half, its leash, its designated master. It was all there. His entire life. A line-by-line fabrication. His miraculous rise through the Conquered Academy, he was optimized for it. His mentorship under Hadron, his handler. The trap at Helix, not a test, but his final, brutal activation. The moment designed to fuse him with his weapon. Even the purchase. That 100 credit bid. He scrolled down. The heliophage spindle. It was a prison. Yes, but it was also a lock, a failsafe. It had been broadcasting its low-level signal for 1,000 years, waiting for the one genetic key that matched its parameters, the Crown Arbiter. He had not stumbled into this. He had been pulled. He dropped the datapad. It clattered on the cold, perfect floor. He was not Rian Cole. He was RC-01, a specimen, a tool, a wave of vertigo, and pure, unadulterated horror washed over him. He stumbled out of the room, gasping. The station's living, arterial walls seemed to pulse in time with his panic, a monstrous heart that he was now genetically bound to. And then the worst realization, the one that broke him, slammed into his mind. Them. Merrick's newfound respect. Was it real, or just a warrior gene obeying its arbiter Ceres's logic? Her trust, was it trust, or a mind empress recognizing a superior processor in Nixel? The thought of her shattered him. Her empathy, her warmth, her hand on his. Her quiet words about the future, of choice. Was it all a script? A gene-deep program compelling her to love the key that fits her lock? He ran. He ran to the one place that had felt real, the one place of peace. The garden. He burst into the biodome, a storm of anguish. She was there, as he knew she would be, sitting by the silver pool. "Nexel," he yelled. She looked up, her violet eyes wide with shock, not at his arrival, but at the sheer, deafening wave of pain rolling off him. "Ryan, what is it? What has happened?" "Is any of it real?" he demanded, stalking toward her. He was a wreck, his voice cracking, his hands shaking. "You and me, your sisters, this whole damned station. Your feelings, your empathy, are they yours? Or is it just the design? Am I just a walking genetic command that you are all forced to obey?" Nixel stood up. She did not flinch or back away from his storm. She met his gaze, her own eyes filling with tears, but not of fear, of her own mirrored pain. "Yes," she whispered. The word was a physical blow. Ryan staggered. "Oh, God." "Yes," she repeated, her voice stronger. She reached out and grabbed his shirt, her blue hand fisting in the fabric. "The design, the ancient law that binds this station, screamed at me the moment you arrived. It said, 'He is here, the arbiter, the consort, the one we must have.' It was a program, Rian, a shackle. It made me look at you when all I wanted to do was hide." "Then it is not real," he whispered, broken. "No," she said, her voice fierce. She pulled him closer, a motion of impossible strength and grace. "That is not the end of the story. The program made me look, but I am the one who saw." She placed her other hand on his chest, her palm warm against his pounding heart. "The design wanted a consort," she said, her voice trembling with conviction. "But I saw a man who made a warrior queen laugh by tripping her. I saw a man who was given a plague weapon and used it to make the floor sticky. I saw a man who stopped my sister from becoming a murderer of helpless prisoners. My feelings, Rian, my emotions when you refused to kill those men, when you stood up to Ceres and refused to be a pawn. That was not in any Cathari design. That was not a program. That was you. And this," she tapped her own heart, "is me." He stared at her, his own tears blurring her face. "Your panic is understandable." Ceres's voice, calm and logical, cut through the emotional torrent. She was standing at the entrance to the garden, holding a data pad. "You are processing a paradigm shift," Ceres said, walking forward. "Your identity is threatened. But your conclusion is flawed. You are not a product. You are a rebellion." "What?" Ryan muttered, wiping his face. "You are operating on Hadron's file," Ceres said. "That file is incomplete. He did not know the whole story. He and Keithrax were low-level conspirators who stole a sample. They did not have this." She held up her slate. It was an older file, a log, From the imperial matriarch, their mother. The log was from 10,000 years ago. The Empress's own voice was recorded, a sound like all four of them blended into one. "The project is a success," the ancient voice said, filled with a terrible sadness. "And that is why it must be destroyed. We sought to create a king, a perfect bridge, a perfect arbiter, but we have only created the perfect slave. A being designed to rule will never know its own will. A tool can never be a person. It is an abomination. Destroy all samples. Seal the heliophage. Let us pray this sin dies with us." The log ended. Project Chimera terminated. "She canceled it," Ryan breathed. "She canceled it," Saris confirmed. "But one sample was kept in stasis, hidden by a lab technician loyal to Kethrax. It was stolen by Hadron Reyes millennia later, when he found the hidden lab." "You are not the fulfillment of a design, Ryan Cole. You are the ghost of a sin our mother tried to bury." Ryan looked from Saris to Nixel. He looked at his own hands. He was not a designer. He was a stolen piece of a failed project, an accident, a chaos layer Hadron had tried, and failed, to control. But he was still the Crown Arbiter. He still had the power. In that moment, the storm in his mind cleared, replaced by a cold, sharp, singular purpose. "She was right," Ryan whispered. "Their mother. She was right. A tool can never be a person." He looked at Nixel and Saris. "Then let's stop being tools." He walked to the throne room. Merrick's and Orona were already there, drawn by the psychic shockwave of the revelation. He walked past them, past the four empty thrones, to the central console that linked to the station's true core. "Ryan," Merrick's warned, "what are you doing?" "I am a tool, Merrick's," Ryan said, his voice echoing in the vast chamber. "We all are. You are a tool of war, Saris, a tool of mind, Nixel, of heart, Orona of shadow. We were all designed for a purpose we did not choose." He placed his hand on the console, his palm, the Arbiter's hand. The station sang. A wave of pure power surged up his arm. Every system, every light, every weapon, every piece of biomatter in the 3-kilometer-long station lit up in acknowledgement. His mind opened. He could feel the basilisk, too, coiled in its partition, turning its green eye towards him. "Master," it whispered. He had absolute power. He was the Crown Arbiter. Rian looked at Nixel, who had placed a hand on his arm, her face pale with terror at the power she felt. He smiled, a real smile. "And I am rejecting my design," he said. He spoke to the station, his first and final command as Arbiter. "Command dissolve. Genetic imperative. Silin Kethlines. All. Override Throne Law. 113. Remove designation War. Remove designation Mind. Remove designation Heart. Remove designation Shadow. Execute." A shudder ran through the station, and through the four women. Merrick's gasped, her pike clattering to the floor. A weight she had carried her entire life, the compulsion to fight. To be the shield was gone. She was still strong, but she was just Merrick's. Sarah stumbled, her hand flying to her head as 1,000 suboptimal calculations, like her love for terrible opera, suddenly seemed perfectly acceptable. Her drive for perfection was no longer a compulsion. It was a preference. Orona blinked. And for the first time, her eyes were not instinctively calculating the shadows. She was just standing in the light. And Nixel looked at Ryan and wept. Tears of pure, unrestrained joy. The roar of her forced empathy was gone. She could still feel him, but it was a choice, not a curse. "You," Merrick's breathed, looking at her hands in wonder. You freed us. I freed us, Ryan corrected. He turned back to the console. One last thing. Command partition basilisk net. New authority multi-key. 5-way consent. Binding keys. Ryan Cole. Merrick's. Saris. Nixil. Orina. New protocol all activations. Require unanimous consent. Execute. The green light of the basilisk in his mind screamed in protest. Mine it hissed. No, Ryan whispered. Not yours. Ours. The system locked. The power receded. He was no longer the Crown Arbiter. The title no longer existed. He was just Ryan. He slumped against the console, utterly exhausted. Merrick's was the one who caught him. Her massive warrior arm, surprisingly gentle. You are a foolish Terran, she muttered, her voice thick. To be given a throne, and give it away. Well, Ryan mumbled, his face against her armor. That's just my chaos layer. The Heliophage Charter was signed 1 week later. It was not a royal decree. It was a messy, chaotic, beautiful document, full of compromises. Saris had argued for efficiency clauses. Merrick's had demanded a larger training bay. Nixil had written in a mandatory, quiet hour per day. Ryan had just added a clause, guaranteeing a steady supply of real, non-synth coffee. Life became a new kind of normal. It was loud. Merrick's, I swear to God, if you use your pike to prune my Zen Jasmine one more time, I will tell Saris, you are the one messing up her server logs. Saris, this paint color is not suboptimal. It is called sea foam green. It is calming, and we are keeping it. Orona, can you please stop teleporting into the ambassador's briefing room? You made the jellyfish man ink. Everywhere. It was a home. That night, Ryan was beyond tired. He trudged to his cold, optimized quarters, only to find they were gone. The walls had been removed. His room was now part of a vast, circular chamber he had never seen before. The entire ceiling was a transparent dome, looking out at the stars. In the center was not a bed, but a massive platform piled high, with silks and pillows. A communal sleeping den. Was this Saris's idea of efficiency? He muttered. He was too tired to argue. He climbed onto the platform and collapsed. The stars wheeling above him. The door hissed open. Merrick stalked in, wearing a simple black tunic. She pointed a crimson finger at him. Move over, Terran, she commanded, though her voice was soft. You are in my spot. He groaned and rolled over. She flopped next to him with a sigh that shook the platform. The door opened again. Saris, reading a data pad, she did not even look up. She climbed onto the platform and sat with her back against a pillar, her silver hair shining in the starlight. Your combined body heat is 3 degrees above optimal, but it is acceptable. Nixil was next. She did not say anything. She just curled up on Ryan's other side, her blue skin warm against him, and went to sleep, finally. Orona. She appeared by the doorway, a shadow in her gray robes. She watched them for a long moment. Ryan thought she would stay there, a guard as always. But she did not. She walked over, and she sat at the foot of the platform, her back to them, her head tilted up, watching the stars pass. A guardian, a part of the whole. Ryan lay there, awake. He was pinned between a warrior queen and an empath, with a logician reading in the corner and an assassin watching the sky. His new family, his dysfunctional, impossible, beautiful mess. He started to laugh, a soft, quiet sound. What is it now, Terran? Merrick's mumbled, her eyes closed. I was just thinking, Ryan whispered, to the stars. The first time we met, You four stood in that bay and you said, "You are ours tonight." He shook his head, smiling. "I swear to God, I thought it was a death sentence." Saris looked up from her slate. "It was. Statistically, probable." Merrick snorted. "It still might be. You are very annoying." Nixel giggled in her sleep. Rian laughed again. He closed his eyes. "And now," he said, his voice filled with a peace he had never known. "Well, I guess now we are ours. And nobody else's. Outside, in the velvet black, the heliophage spindle thrummed. It was no longer a tomb. It was a beacon. And one by one, the ships came. Human freighters. Kithari reformist cruisers. Even a small, confused jellyfish ambassadorial vessel. They came to the throne, freehold. A new order born from a broken design. A safe harbor in a galaxy of chaos.